morning and welcome to the Morning Connection. We're coming to you live from the Ligony Club in the heart of New Kingston, Jamaica. We are, of course, on Best 100 FM. Better music, better vibes. And this morning we are especially pleased to be outdoors. It is beautiful. There's a light breeze that's just tickling the palm fronds that are around me. And the club is festooned. I haven't used that word in a long time. In the national colors. Everywhere you look, you see the black, green, and gold. And I try to get a little bit of it in the background here. So we made an effort to share what's going on here with you. I don't know how much of it you're seeing, but the big mango tree that is usually wrapped in Christmas lights, it is now wrapped in the national colors. But we're happy to be here. I'm saying we, but you'll notice if you're watching us online that Pastor Percival is not in his chair as yet. But we're good and ready to go. And yours truly, your host, Minette Lawrence, will just start the ball rolling for you. Welcome to those who have joined us on air and online. We are especially thankful for the greetings I get from the UK. I don't know how Delroy Henry does it. Every morning he finds a new way to encourage us and motivate us. I'm going to share it with you this morning. He says, what you both do today that is worthwhile. It inspires others to act at some future time. And he gives us the UK shout out. It's of great interest to me that I get a UK shout out almost every morning, and especially during Independence time, because there's some navel string relationship between Jamaica and the UK, and the story's not done yet. We're still talking reparations. We're still talking reconciliation of a righteous sort. And yes, there is some struggle going on because the UK is not responding as they should, which is to their detriment. But we are people of peace and love and righteousness. So we're not going to spend too much time talking about that. We know that in the time that is right and fit, all deeds are going to be accounted for and all accounts are going to be settled. So it really doesn't matter how much a man struggled today. When the time is right, he will come with the basket filled to overflowing, seeking to make good on the debt that he owes. I am talking about reparations, which is an important issue at this time as we are looking at all things independent and emancipated. All right. You know that the Morning Connection dedicates itself to exploring issues and lighting up conversations that are necessary to promote growth, prosperity, and good living. That is our focus. We try to say it in many different ways, but at the end of the day, that is what we try to do. Pastor Percival and I are both persons of faith, meaning we believe that this is a created world and that the Creator is our God, and that we have a relationship with him in which he sustains and supports us because he created us, and we in turn offer obedience and submit ourselves to obeying the sovereign will because we were created for a purpose. And everything we do or say on this program is dedicated to shining a light on those principles. As a consequence, we have been looking at matters pertaining to wealth, how we create wealth, how we sustain it, how we distribute it fairly, and how we spend it, meaning what are the benefits, the rights, the freedoms that we seek to enjoy as we use this wealth in a wise, in a prudent way. I spoke from last season. I spoke about the culture of wealth and the wealth of culture. Pastor Percival looked quite lost. It's still 2 tables and 2 chairs. Good morning. All right, so the other host is here. And you get to see what he does as he sets himself up for the morning show. Good morning, Percy. I think your microphone is live, so you can say it a little louder. No, not yet? All right. So just to give you the, we have just 2 minutes to our first break. So while Percival gets set up, I'll explain a little further the path that we're on. So we've talked about wealth. It is an important part of how we set ourselves up as a nation to enjoy the fruits of nationhood. So the subject matter is the culture of wealth, meaning what are the norms, the practices, the protocols, the values that surround and support wealth, the creation of it, the preservation of it, and the application of it. That's how I'm starting this morning, because we want to put ourselves in a position to create wealth and to be able to use it wisely and to share it with the brothers and sisters in under the covenant. I have two guests lined up. I am not gonna say the names as yet because I want to maintain a little mystery and bring you back after the 6:30 bell. But suffice it to say, the two persons that I have asked to join us this morning each have a very unique contribution to make on the matter of wealth. And as we are moving towards the actual Independence Day, I want us to be very conscious of where we stand on the wealth spectrum and how we're going to move ourselves from a place of less wealth to a place of greater wealth. Are you with me now, Brother Palmer? Ooh, that's what they used to call my father.
Was that a good or a bad thing?
It is a good thing. Oh my, I loved my dad without any kind of limitation.
A good gentleman.
I don't know if he was a gentleman, but he was a good father.
He was a good father. Well, but that's all that was needed for you, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Daughters, don't worry about whether daddy's a gentleman.
Yeah, them just said, my daddy that.
That's
and my daddy will
yes.
fight for me.
Absolutely.
Children have this thing. It happened to me one time. The boys were having a discussion at school. Whose father is stronger than who?
Really?
What can really happen and whose father can beat up who and that kind of thing.
That is definitely boy talk.
Yeah, so you go to school one day and a gentleman come up to you and say, me or see you can't beat me up.
Really?
Say, what you talking about, sir? He says, oh.
Oh, all right. We have to get the punchline when we come back. When we come back, please stay with us. We're taking our 6:30 break. This is the Morning Connection. Oh, welcome back to the Morning Connection. So let me allow my wonderful co-host to greet you in his usual way, Pastor Percival.
Hi, morning.
It's not
Good
me
morning,
agree tonight.
Good morning to the TCM family that's listening on the radio.
Who's TCM? Transformed Covenant Man.
No, TMC. That was TCM.
Let's not make up.
Covenant man. Yeah.
Let's not make up something.
You mean like our friend yesterday? Really think.
Who made up something? The caller who said Caribbean mean Caribbean. Yeah.
And somebody was joking saying him I got this behind.
Carry behind.
But it was so funny.
We carry things behind we.
Yeah, but interesting.
Yeah.
But good morning. I was sharing that story. So that was a wake up call.
No, I was asking if he was a bigger man than you, and you know, did it look like?
And that was the end of the story.
Can I tell you? I believe that man was he spy you out first to see whether he should approach you with that, and when he saw that he was
and
bigger,
he made a big laugh afterwards.
he came forward.
Boys just comparing notes and whose father is Superman.
My father is. Oh, isn't that wonderful though?
Yeah, when your sons think the world of you because the same way you take the world off. That's the importance.
You gotta be worthy of that kind of
right.
admiration and yeah.
Yeah, but this morning it's not a good thing to get up early in the mornings. Early. You do your stuff.
Let me hear that part.
Yeah, you early, get up, you do your...
You mean like you're up at 2 a.m.?
2, 3 o'clock.
What stuff are you doing at 2, 3 o'clock?
I normally wake up at that time to do my daily Bible reading,
right,
prayer and so on. And then this morning I was praying for a brother who has had a massive stroke. And the CT scan indicates that one of his blood vessels were burst. And so we are together as a community of faith praying for him. That restoration will happen. I've seen it happen before in person. Say, all right, this is it. Prepare for the next, and God miraculously raised them up from their deathbed. And my wife was interested in it. Brought an interesting perspective on it. In terms of some of the times you pray. You remember Hezekiah?
Yes.
Was a good king.
Yes. And
the prophet came and says, yeah, prepare. And he prayed and died. And the report is that the rest of it wasn't good for him.
Yes, he didn't use the additional years as wisely as he could have. But, you know, this business of, I mean, everywhere I go, I guess it's topical because of some of the things that's happening in the country, but all across the world, people are saying, what is the effectiveness of prayer? Because we want to see greater change than we're seeing, and many of the faithful are praying. And both believers and non-believers are interrogating this business of prayer with great energy.
Because remember, we had this massive debate with what we have given him my name.
Oh, you mean on our program?
On our program.
We've had a massive debate. So I thought it was some world event you were talking about. You call it massive debate.
I consider this as world changing. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
The time that we
well, it has changed my world.
Yeah.
So in that
regard. It has changed a lot of people's world.
No, man, I just thought you meant it was on a larger stage. Yeah, one of our callers from Enlightened, yes. He had asked.
He took us to task, yes.
Well, he asked a very important question. Are we overusing prayer? Because, a great big mango just fell. Yes, Jody, go for it.
People that must want to. When we used to come here early, it used to be raining mangoes, you remember?
Yeah, it's just one.
A drought of mangoes.
It's like one. Yeah. But yes, one of our callers did start us on a discussion about the effectiveness of prayer and whether, people are pray and not seeing change. Could we stop the prayer and just get on with some work? That is, of course, it's a recurring question. The things we see happening, and we hear that people are praying. So it has caused me to look even at when persons take a really bad turn in their health.
What should we do?
and we are praying, how do we pray? What is the wise, or the we just say now, how do you pray within the will of God on those occasions? We know that people are of a finite lifespan, so there is a point when they die.
But that death is not the end in it.
And we know that death is not the end. So really, you don't fight it as if you have no hope, which is the verse that everybody, and they use it at funerals. Yes. So we don't resist death as if it has the advantage of us. We know that it is a gateway to something far greater. And some persons who have had the dead and come back experience, let's put it that way. They tell you that they didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
And they had to be pushed to come back because it is way better there than what's happening in this realm.
I did a funeral recently. I think I told you, for a gentleman who was 97 years old. So he'd seen world wars and all of the different changes. And he knew he was going to die. Because sharing with the family, they said to me, we went and we had written him off. But he came back. When he came back, he says, I never really wanted to come back, But this time, when it come, he said he saw the angels waiting for him. And his wife was younger than him, because she was in her 80s. And he spoke to her, he prayed for her, and says, it's all right. I'm out of here. And so when he died, he just transitioned with a smile on his face. Because he says, they're waiting.
Yes.
They're waiting. They're waiting. So I don't need to be here. And
See ya.
That was the record. It's like the record we have in scripture with when Israel, he just pulled up his, his feet and he transitioned.
Yep.
And recently, another person said to me, her brother was sick. He had cancer of the throat. And she said, boy, what have I gone on? And I said, I can pray for him, but you need to prepare for it. Because some of the times, there are persons who wait. They know they're going to die. And there's that son or that person
that they need to see and say, right.
And to release them. Says, it's all right. It's all right. You've done badly in the past, but I'm releasing you. And then that person comes, and they're out of there. They're out of here. In Jamaica, we have a saying that the person is traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that expression.
I've heard it. It never did seem like anything good, though.
No, they weren't.
They say, he's traveling. And if you take a close look, the person look like they're really on a tough journey.
Yeah, but some
those are beautiful.
And people are smiling. So for me, that is a transition.
All right. So I'm asking you now, and I mean, those who know what's happening in your community may hear and have an opinion. But what then do you pray for? A man has served. His body has reached the point where you could say he needs to go. He needs to go back to the Maker and get a new body.
But you get a new body.
What do you pray for?
Yeah, so a lot of times we pray for the purpose of God to fulfill. And some of the times you will know that if this person stays, there's no more purpose for them staying here.
They've completed the mission.
The mission that they've had. And so my simple advice to persons, and I say to young people, I say it at funerals, when I do it, everybody, I says, you have to understand purpose. Why is it that you are here? And so when you know that purpose is fulfilled, you can say, whoosh, I'm out of here. Because time must come.
Yeah, so I won't press you too closely on it because I don't want you to say, well, it's time for the man to go and finishing work. and his family might feel like, what Pastor saying? He could go for another 10 miles.
Because a minute, not to prolong it, people have come and saying what we need to do. And he says, it's hard. You got to release them.
Yes. Yes.
You have to release them. You have to let them go. Because you're holding them here. There's no
if you are prophetic like that and you have a word of knowledge that this man has more to do, and the faithful should say, send him back, Lord, then you move in that direction. But I'm not one who instinctively says, especially when a person who's full of years enter the final stage, I'm not one to say, oh, Lord, give him another quarter century. No, I know that people need to die, if only to allow younger people to get their chance at bat. Some of us need to die. I have no aversion to it. But we've been talking a little bit too about what happened with Hezekiah and understanding the Hezekiah prayer and when you prayed. The first thing is that Hezekiah prayed it himself. So he looked into his purpose and his ambitions and what he wanted to do. And he had work underway. And he said, Lord, can the grave praise you? Meaning, I have worthwhile things to do for your kingdom. And if I die, it will not, my hands won't do it. And while I'm in the grave, you will get no praise from me. And so the Lord said 15 more years. And we know that he squandered it because he did.
He was a person.
He went and show off
the thing then.
Show off the treasures
because
to
he
Egypt.
Forgot that what he had was because of the hand of God in
that
his life.
extended something to it. Yeah. But then I always remember Dorcas. Dorcas was an old woman, but Dorcas was such a blessing to the community. That it was not Dorcas who prayed. Dorcas probably come back and say, gosh, you couldn't let me go, me tired. But Dorcas, so beloved, of such great value to the community, they were not ready to let her go. And they got the apostle, what was it, Peter?
To pray, yeah.
To pray and to bring Dorcas back. Dorcas's return was both a reward to the community and a testimony of right. So when persons are at that point in their journey that you should be prepared to let them go, you really have to consider what is the right prayer as we talk about prayer, because many of us pray for healing and many of us turn our minds to various things in our prayers, and when we don't see them manifest, we become concerned. But a prayer that is rooted in selfishness or a prayer that is contrary to the will of God will not be answered in the way that you desire it. All prayers are answered. Sometimes the answer you get is greater knowledge and awareness of what it is that you really ought to be praying for.
And that's the prayer that we pray. It says, if you agree, touching anything. But the context was that you are praying it
in the will
of God, understanding what God's will is in the matter. So it's not just simply agreeing and saying, pray,
You and I agree that we should take those 6 mangoes. How many are those? 6? No, if 7. But if we take 6, Eden would still have 1. So you and I could agree on it. Yeah, but it would be robbery.
And it would be wrong.
And it would be wrong.
Because we're not preferring Eden.
Not in the will of God that we rob Eden.
To Romans,
after we saw how she worked hard to catch the mangoes
when the gentleman
over
was
there.
Picking them.
Yeah. So, well, you've done your welcome. I feel for you with your brother who is traveling, maybe traveling. One does not know. And he's your age, which means he's close enough in age to all of us.
Yeah.
But let's look at Donnelly Anderson. That's her name.
Lady.
I don't want to. Donaldson. Little Donnelly could be your daughter.
She would have been our daughter.
Yeah, and she was just rudely.
At a very early age, like in our teens. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just keep misdirection. If we were like Mary.
Yes.
Oh dear. But yeah, that's a young girl plucked out of. I mean, you couldn't even say she entered the prime of life. She's like 24, 23.
And
23.
That was because of the evil intent in my
Right.
heart.
Yeah. So those are situations that really have you go into deep consideration when the will of God is.
How does God allow evil into the world? How does evil flourish? It's another discussion.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, to destroy evil would be to destroy man, because the evil is carried in our hearts, and he's far too gracious and loving a God to just wipe us out like that. Though many times we are told as the Israelites.
Or it's the ripe out the evil of the face of the
Yes,
earth.
he said. I mean, I'm always amused by the record of when he says to Moses, let me just deal with them and start over with you.
Yeah,
Just one man.
yeah. I can deal with you, but them,
Yeah.
them
So
not here with me.
I'll build a nation through you. Moses must have been saying, what, me one? To
Right.
have all these children? No,
They're
way too much.
Hard, odd ears.
Do you know, I'm digressing a bit, but I'm always intrigued by the easy, the nature of the conversation that takes place as recorded between God and and his chosen family. It's like how you speak in any family.
Beat your chair.
Yeah, that your father, you will ask your father a question. Father will say, you know, do so and so. And you'll say, but father, really? Then suppose. I find it a very kind of comforting perspective because it tells you that you can speak in your own comfortable way with your father. You don't have to stand on any extreme protocol. And like last night, someone said something to me about like you could pray for something which your father knows you need, but because you haven't been good, he withholds it from you. So like you're praying for a house or you're praying for a job. You need shelter and you need to be occupied in a way that can generate money for your family and, you know, and you can't get no job and you not get no house. So you would say, God has not granted me my prayer. Right. And then somebody would say to you, boy, your prayer not going to win because you need to go get married or you need to stop drinking or whatever sin they might be able to lay at your door.
And that's how we normally see it.
And that is how we see it.
But that's not how God looks
And
at it.
I said, wow, you got to consider the character of God and really understand for yourself, is this, and if this is the God you're worshiping, you should stop. A vengeful, spiteful, a God who know that you're weak and frail,
Is that a good thing? God
a
is
God
not
who
like
promise
us.
you, a God who promise you these things, but then withholds them. Not true.
And that is what mercy and grace is about.
Yeah.
Grace, concept of grace is unmerited favor, because the record is that because of how we were, we should have get beat up and we should have gone suffer the penalty for our sin. But grace says, mercy says no. Mercy, which is God's grace, says, all right, the truth is my standards are so very high that you're not going
You're
to
never gonna right.
reach it on your own. But this is what I'm doing. I'm just simply asking you to understand that your very existence, in me you live and move and have your being. It is in me that you find the true purpose of living, and just walk in obedience to what I've said and you're good to go. And if you mess up, there's always an avenue for you to come back to me. And that is what it is about. You last week were on the whole thing of the purpose of the law. And the purpose of the law really was to show us that as much as you tried or it wouldn't happen. So that is why I've done this. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually looking back for the scripture that says that it is God who has given us the ability to create wealth.
Deuteronomy 6.
It's in Deuteronomy.
Deuteronomy 6.
I'm out on a limb now.
28.
20 verse 8. It has. I know there's a.
28.
Anyway.
Deuteronomy 6. It is He who gives you the power to get well.
To get
Deuteronomy
well.
6. When He was telling them, and you out of that you must tell the children every day what it is.
So let me look. It's 6:22. No, not 22.
Higher up.
6 verse 8 maybe. I know there's a 8 involved in it.
Yeah. So it's
No,
Deuteronomy.
not that. Anyway, suffice it to say, the ability to generate wealth is it doesn't come from the devil, or it's not evil. Let's put it that way. Many of us sometimes think that all rich people are sinners, or or only sinners can get rich, whichever way we want to turn it. I want to start as we look at wealth. I want to start at that place for us to be fortified in our knowledge and awareness that wealth comes from God. It is within the will of God that you generate wealth, are wealthy, can enjoy the benefits of wealth. And I don't know why I'm not finding it right now, because it definitely is something that I have had my attention on in the last couple of days. Anyway, so we are in agreement on it, and you can check for yourself to know that there is no sin in being wealthy,
No, it's
and
not.
there's no evil in even pursuing wealth, the generation of wealth. The kingdom of God has to be financed, and like any business, it is financed through the application of wealth, the riches of the world, in whatever form it takes. So, as with many things, a culture, a set of behaviors develop around wealth. And it is developed not just organically, because wealth is enjoyed by people, and the way in which people enjoy it become fairly standardized. If you get to a certain level of wealth, you buy a car, you grow a little more, you buy a house, you grow some more, you take a certain type of vacation, you get some more, you move to using a private plane, you get lots more, you decide you need your own helicopter, private plane, $300 million yacht. It sounds very specific, but
It's Deuteronomy 8:18. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy
Yeah.
God, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant which he swore unto thy fathers, as it is this day.
and remember the covenant now. Would be the Abrahamic covenant, which is blessings, 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 multiplication,
faith.
growth.
Simply based on faith.
And that is the exchange. You get these benefits, you remain faithful, you get these benefits. Or which way would it go? I think it is your faithfulness will put you in position to enjoy all these benefits. It's really not like you're being paid.
And the covenant is about covenant between us and God. It is a covenant that says, most times we have covenant, it's between two equals, but in the covenant with us and God,
Contract. Covenant is...
some people understand
Yeah.
it that way, but it is a covenant which speaks to one who is greater, is saying to you who is lesser, because you don't have the power to do it, and he's saying to you, all I'm asking you to do, just be obedient.
Yeah,
You're good to
that
go.
is one of the differences between contract and covenant.
From a lawyer.
Yeah, in the realms of law.
Yeah.
And so covenants tend to be more enduring, because the person of strength has the ability to be constant
And to do what he says he
and
will do.
to do what he says he will do. That's why, like, you have covenants that run with land. It is presumed that land won't change. That is the land. Covenant will be there. You need to fit yourself within.
Are you serious?
Yeah. So like,
work?
yeah, the covenants, easements are contract. I give you a bly to do something in relation to my land. That's an easement. It can change based on who owns the land. So the easement would be personal between you and me as a contract. But if I sell the land to Jody, and
Jody can change.
she can change the easement, the conditions of the easement can change.
Okay.
But there are some covenants. The covenants now run with the land. It doesn't matter who. So when you buy say you're buying a housing development and it has restrictive covenants against subdividing or running a business on it, or, whatever, how you treat with storm water or so on. Those are covenants now that are part of the land. If the ownership of the land change, the covenants stay the same way, because it runs with the land. If you want to change it now, statute, the bigger covenant, the Constitution, that allows your government to make laws to regulate various things, that bigger covenant will establish a way by which you can change a covenant on land. It involves going to court. That's why for some of these housing developments that run into problems, you have to go to court to change the restrictive covenant, and the people in the community have a right to object,
And
because they say, when you strip away this covenant, you have devalued my land, because my land benefits from the covenant that is on that piece of land.
Oh, you want to talk about that a little bit more. So because,
you like it?
Yeah, because I could not understand.
Yeah.
Why is it that a lot of people in communities, I remember when Covenant Community Church,
name.
wanted to build a church.
Yes.
On Hope Road.
Oh yes, they were the ones who had a tent there for a long time.
And they wanted to build, and the people said no.
No, right. You covenant can't change this covenant.
And they went to court.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they won, if I recall.
Yeah, they won.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So no, I'm every day I come, I learn something.
I try.
A lifelong learning.
Yes.
So you must be a lifelong learner. But that's a very interesting thing. But no, I'm understanding it better, and I think the public is understanding it better, why people can take people to court.
Right, and succeed.
Yeah.
And why they are horrified when you take them sometime and you fail.
Okay.
Because that bigger covenant under the Constitution can cause a change. Okay. All right, we're going to come back to it, because oddly enough, restrictive covenants that keep land bound in a certain state of development is amongst the cultural reinforcements for wealth.
Yeah. Interesting.
STEM Uprising invites you to support their 5th annual blood drive and back-to-school treat at the Lionel Town Hospital on Friday, August 19th. The blood drive starts at 9 a.m. and you can join us at midday for the back-to-school treat. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, invite as many donors as you can, and you will be eligible to earn cash prizes starting at $10,000 for third place, $20,000 for second place, and first place prize of $50,000. And there's more! Free medicals for all students returning to school this September. Don't miss this opportunity to give blood and save lives. STEM Uprising invites you to support their 5th annual blood drive and back-to-school treat at the Lionel Town Hospital on Friday, August 19th. The blood drive starts at 9 a.m. and you can join us at midday for the back-to-school treat. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, invite as many donors as you can, and you will be eligible to earn cash prizes starting at $10,000 for third place, $20,000 for second place, and first place prize of $50,000. And there's more! Free medicals for all students returning to school this September. Don't miss this opportunity to give blood and save lives.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8888 8935. That's 276 8935.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minette and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Best 100 FM. Welcome to the Ligally Club. This beautiful property is nestled in the heart of New Kingston and is the single largest sporting facility in the English-speaking Caribbean. JD's Urban Pub is our resident restaurant. You can trust them with all your catering requirements. Take advantage of our excellent amenities and allow yourself to be pampered by our courteous and efficient staff in the comfort of our well-appointed and welcoming public spaces. You are being invited to make this your home away from home. Take advantage of our full-service gymnasium. Our 8 tennis courts. Feel free to wander through the gardens and enjoy the relaxing atmosphere of this oasis that remains as charming today as when we first opened our doors in 1910, and our large-size swimming pool. 6 squash courts. In the evenings, relax. Welcome back to the Morning Connection, and I am so delighted to give a very special shout out to Wayne. Wayne, you found us. I'm happy to see you, and you're chatting it up as usual. Or Wade is one of our regular callers on Thursdays when we don't take calls. He chats. He's now giving us some lively chatter. So yes, if you go to the YouTube channel, oh boy, the producer stopped quarreling with me for not promoting YouTube. I think he has given up. Pastor Percival, we need to promote the fact that we are on YouTube. We're on all of the social media platforms except maybe IGTV. I don't think we're on Instagram too. Yes, live on this. Oh, okay. Oh, so yeah, you can find us Lola99 on what's the other one again? On YouTube for Lola99, also on Facebook, also on what's that other one? I've forgotten its name. Twitch. Also on Twitch. Lord have mercy. We're gonna keep Pastor out of promoting the social media part. One of those words. No, one of those words is just borderline
Swatch?
JP petty sessions is a borderline petty session word. Don't keep saying it. Please.
Swatch is a brand.
Yeah, it wasn't Swatch.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, but yes, we are there and you can chat with us. A couple of things Wayne is saying on the matter of wealth. Christ said it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. And that is because they should use their riches to help others, to help themselves. And it is good to teach a man to help himself than to give him handouts. So rich people can help without giving what they have and still gain a profit. Absolutely right. It's why I'm so offended by this call for the welfare basket to keep growing while the people who need to be able to help themselves are not really getting what is theirs.
And,
Yeah.
But if it is used very well in terms of you do it well in terms of what you do with it, it will cause it is used strategically. So one of the things, all right, you're gonna do welfare. According to some people, welfare. Why don't give grants that people can help with backyard farming, those kind of things. To tie it into something that has
That's productive.
That's productive and has national significance. We've been talking a lot about food security, but I don't think we're beginning to understand how important that will become, because they're going to be using food to control people.
Oh Lord, all right. So Delroy Henry just made a point, which I'm gonna read it as he has put it there. He said, Miss Lawrence, honestly, it's a disgrace to see Prime Minister Holness drive all the way to Christiana to give a young lady a check for $150,000 to start a business and can't make the effort to visit Dana Lee mom in Kingston. Is that where we are now? What's her name? Donnelly.
What's her name?
Donnelly or
the money to start the business? Who it was?
He said somebody in Christiana, and Delroy Henry is from that part of the world too, so we don't begrudge our sister in Christiana being blessed in whatever way it is. But you know what? There are some expectations that the princes, the high officials create, which are unrealistic. But because they do it, they create an expectation in the hearts of citizens that when certain tragedies occur, they are going to come and personally, commiserate and give comfort and share and so on and so forth. It is unrealistic, but it is their fault.
Yeah, because they started. And then they end up picking and choosing where to go. And anywhere they don't go, begin to look as if they are throwing shade or they are not sufficiently compassionate. Is either you do it for everybody or you don't do it at all. Or it's one of those finer point issues that they have to be conscious of. If you have a care and compassion committee in government, let's say you have an office that looks deliberately at showing up like when people suffer. Court. Like how yes, it should be a part of the Constitution. It would be a part of the Constitutional Court if I had my way. To give care to citizens who are having that kind of distress. If you have that, then it responds to everything that rises above a certain level. And you have to decide what the level is. No, we will decide what the level is. Because one of the things which we have taken away, I believe, from our people is the whole thing of self-reliance, of taking responsibility, first for yourself, but responsibility in community. To help each other. And I remember I shared a story of, it's a real story of this lady, farming community, parent died, And there was no expectation because in their mind, it's a poor community, it's a farming community. And she was so surprised and bowled over that the people in that poor farming community says, it's not much, but we want to help your family because you have been such a blessing. And they gave them a check of $200,000 towards the
funeral arrangements. Yes, and then on top of that, people are gonna show up with food and do the tomb building or the whatever grave digging and so on and so forth.
Event.
Yeah,
we
gotta get back there.
We gotta get back there,
yes.
Because that is how, as we talk about food security, I'm making the link. How we're gonna survive.
Yes.
We're gonna survive as community, and even for our friend who calls in, who goes to Ratbat City and
Neville
who goes and says the way that we're gonna move forward is if every Jamaican was to volunteer to serve
in whatever capacity. Yes,
say you get a revival, a change in terms of that, because now we are thinking about our brother and becoming our brother's keeper.
Yeah.
That was something that came out of slavery, the whole thing of self-reliance. All right, you send me out, you know, give me no land, but me I go catch, as we call it. So the church was so important in terms of establishing these free villages, the Sligo Vales, those places all over the country where you had a rise in terms of people saying, okay, that's what I have, but Minette, you understand it, because you come from a farming community more than
I sure do.
Yeah, and then my children are going to be better than based on what they give me.
I love how you reference the church, because the church, for all its sins,
has done well in terms of that, education, whatever it was.
There are some things that must follow people.
Yeah.
And sometimes you look at it and you wonder what gets there is the chicken and egg. I like to think that if people head up into the hills, a church going to follow. Somebody there going to have an affiliation with something, and it's going to come in and build with the people. And that is the sort of organic relationship that you want to encourage, where it's not
faith
forced, it's just flowing. And this is really the wealth of culture now.
Yeah, faith and community.
Because your faith is a part of your cultural expression.
It is.
And when you go somewhere, it is a part of what you bring with you. And it too must grow like everything else. Don't only let the evil grow. Let the good that is in man also flourish and grow, which is really the wealth that we like to talk about. I really do hope that in the arrangement of our affairs, our public officials can find a more equitable way to show the compassion and the care and show up at the places that warrant it. And you do it. You must have a way of doing it without thinking that you are now interfering in the administration of justice, because some people might be saying, well, the issue with this young lady's disappearance is it's now a homicide, and if certain high officials were to show up and visit with the family, they are signaling something. Things can be misread in so many ways, but you've got to push on notwithstanding and ensure that the love you need to show predominates the decisions you make when you're doing it for the right reasons. It becomes easier.
Some of the times for me, what guides me, I have to check the motivation of my art. What is in my art? What is it? Why am I doing this? In a lot of things that you relate to people, why do you do this? And if the art right and it can match up with principles of scripture of God, even though
you're deliberately leaving off the age of heart so that you can reach a whole fresh demographic. Like when you say if the art right, I'm like, okay, are we?
The heart is right.
Are we drawing something here?
If the heart is right.
If the heart is right.
And the principles stand up.
Go
do it. Because some of the times I have learned if you are to follow what people say, then you become so boxed in that you do not do what is the right thing to do in the situation. And Jesus was like that. Because, all right, let's take this one. They bring the woman to him. He's a teacher of the law. We just catch her. We just catch her as we catch her, in the act.
In flagrant delicto.
Yeah, and they say. So they're waiting for him now. What is he gonna do? He says, okay.
So
He needs that.
you're looking at Jesus, the freedom fighter. No, because he resisted. Because he was resisting the application of that terrible law,
Yes.
which required adulterous women to be stoned.
Yes. And I always ask myself when I read it. So I'm to the man, if he was caught in the act, he should be stoned also according to
Yeah, it should be
the
told
law.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and he says, he that is without sin, let him cast the first stone. Jesus was a liberator, when you think about
He was a resistance fighter. We talk about
him just go against the status quo and says, you guys have set it up. You not kill the people them instead of allowing the people to be free.
but I don't want you to miss the point I've repeated like twice.
Go ahead, my dear sister.
On the issue of resistance. Because the law was known to be such. There was no controversy surrounding the law. You catch her, you stone her. She was caught and they were just over themselves with joy that now they have a true situation now
That they
to
can-
challenge this man on the law. And yet he found a way to put it back in their court on how they would administer this law. So he didn't contradict the law, but he certainly didn't enforce it. He gave it back to them.
Says, okay.
He said, all right, she's to be stoned. Every law has two sides to it. It has the prescriptive part of it, what should happen to the offender.
True.
But the other piece, the administrative piece of it, which determines who does it to the offender, is equally important. So every law stands on two legs. There's no one foot law.
Not a one-footed man.
There's no 1 foot law. It stands on two legs. I am the accused person or I have been convicted. Okay, fine. But the person who convicts me is subject to law as well.
True.
And he must be able to acquit his part of the law or handle his obligation under the law.
Administration of justice.
Yes, with the same integrity and the same diligence and obedience as my piece. My piece was to show up and be tried
Okay.
and participate in the process. Because there are some people who they on bail, they abscond or they evade the law. That's why they announce them as persons of interest. There are some people who don't stand up and play their role. And there are some systems that develop in other countries, like if for war crimes, you can be tried in your absence. Because your systems develop on how to cure that. Because each man have a role to play in the proceedings. But the court and the process by which the law is administered is 50% of the job. So when Jesus says, all right, you bring a guilty woman, no problem. Let's see who's going to administer the punishment now.
As the administration come back into
Because they administrate. That's why even when you see Jamaicans in a turmoil over the police not investigating, something has gone wrong. They're saying, you are not carrying out your side of the bargain. I can't trust you to carry out your side of the bargain.
That is the cry for justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you realize that is more damaging?
Yeah.
That's more damaging to society than the punishment piece of it.
True. Yeah. The administration of justice.
The administration of justice.
Right.
So I love it that Christ managed to find a point of resistance that was effective and complete without even touching the law. He didn't have to say this law is not just, this law is not fair, where is the man? No, he just says, all right, she's here, she's guilty.
But he
Let he who hath no sin
Yes. You was going to administer. Let him come forward.
Yeah, man. And if you are a person of conscience, you could never stand there and be throwing a stone. You'd probably take up a pebble.
I think at all.
Instead, everybody walked away and said, "Wow, this man not right, you know." How it become me? How I come? How I come to be in judgment now?
Yeah, no, right.
Why am I on trial? I didn't do anything. But if you have the bravery to impose and execute a sentence, you need to be right in your own sense. That's why you sit across from judges in court and you look at them and you really wonder. Honestly, I wonder. This person here, ready to dispense judgment. Could they take it if I
they
sat
want to
in?
give them the same thing?
If I sat in judgment
That's why
of
there's
you,
mercy.
of your words. Anyway, let's see.
They talk about resistance.
Yeah.
Another person resisted. And what was said in terms of was Stephen. We mentioned him yesterday.
Oh,
He was
yes.
resisting. But then the people in the administration couldn't take it anymore.
They didn't even wait on the trial to end.
They couldn't take it anymore. No.
That is so funny the way you put it there. It's true. The administrators of justice lost track of themselves. I said, no, man, we'll kill him now. They started.
That's what jungle justice
So it was
is
no,
about.
and that's what made him a martyr.
Yeah.
That is what made him a martyr.
Resisted, and some of the times we must recognize in the resistance. When you resist, some people say, we want the status quo to continue.
Yeah.
So away with him.
This
because
man
Jesus
is-
was a resistor too. You spoke
Yeah.
about him when they had him on trial. He was this was the tipping point. This was the climax of his resistance and speaking against the system.
But you know, when I look at Jesus' defense speech or his defense
From a
strategy,
lawyer's perspective.
yes, I look at his defense strategy, and I say to myself, you never want to be so good in your defense that you end up throwing off track the thing that is to happen.
True.
And I know that certainly. I was told at a point to remain silent. I told you that. Just remain silent. Don't do anything. Let this go the full measure, because as it was with the Christ, they had formed it in their hearts that the death of this person is necessary to avoid greater disruption.
Yeah. Better one died than all of us. All of us dead.
Absolutely.
That's what they say.
And they don't see beyond the death because they don't believe in resurrection.
Yeah, that's true.
And I would say to the persons who targeted me, who targeted Carousel, who target
Anything
person of purpose,
yeah.
try and look beyond your immediate gain. And just imagine, you must ask yourself, what if this turns? What's the direction in which it would go? And I look at myself and I say, I even wonder sometimes, am I prepared to take this to the limit? Because if I am silenced over here, but I gain a voice over there, should I not raise the roof?
But it's dependent on what Father is saying to you.
Yeah, that's why I'm
Because
saying
he has
no,
the
you have to look at
perspective.
purpose.
And that's
If-
why you
if-
have to be walking with him. Yeah, in purpose.
Yeah, you have to look at purpose critically, and I'm doing it all the time because I see where some of the things that I'm doing, I see where it's going, and I kind of wonder aloud, was that what you had in mind? Because I can tell you that the people who attended at my execution didn't see it. They thought, all right, this is it. Let's bury this one and move on. And they're saying next.
Next in line.
Next in line. Okay. So here are some of the things that I want to share this morning, Pastor. Some of it might seem a bit new to you in terms of how I'll shape it. But I want to mention 6 elements. I'm going to name them out. And then when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about them one by one. And during the break, you and I can even make a few jokes about them. I want to mention 6 elements that have been identified and well described as being essential components of the culture that surrounds wealth. You'll recognize some of them. So bearing in mind now, to those who may be just joining us, I am looking at the norms, the values, the protocols, and practices that protect, sustain, and perpetuate wealth, or the ownership and control of wealth, in the same hands. So we're talking about what is it that reinforces and keep a status quo, so that 60 years ago, 95% of the population of Africans were released into self-actualization, let's call it that. We are independent, so we can now go forth and create lives for ourselves that have us being autonomous and in charge of our destinies. So 60 years ago, something happened that was meant to put us on that path. And here we are 60 years later looking back, and Jamaicans are rightly saying, independent of what? No, we're not independent. What did that give us? How did we? That's the question. We understand from Deuteronomy that our Father, our Creator, gave us the ability to generate wealth, and that wealth is a part of His keeping a covenant made long ago, that we would live in abundance and enjoy certain benefits. We would be a great nation. All of those who subscribe by faith to His way would have abundant life. Yet there are many of us here praying every day, faithful, in our own words, and we're not enjoying that abundant life. So what it is that have the wealth locked away over there? These are the strongholds we talk about, and if we're going to dismantle those strongholds, let's look at them. I'm going to call out 6 of them. Can I just call them out, or after the break? I can call them out? All right, very quickly. The first one has to do with, or the first one, aspirational. This is, your hopes and dreams. All right, I think it's better that I do them after the break. The producer is looking very concerned. All right, stay with us, please. We're going to look at the gatekeepers to wealth and see how we're going to dismantle them so we can redistribute. Welcome back to the Morning Connection. Thank you for staying with us. We were talking about the 6 elements which form gatekeepers, are amongst the gatekeepers of wealth. Wealth being looked at as kind of like an independent force or substance that can actually be surrounded by gatekeepers. And the first one that I target, Pastor P, is aspirational. This looks at the hopes and dreams of those who are aspiring to wealth. What
drives them?
Yeah, what is it that you dream of? If you were to like go into an inner city community and ask the children what are their hopes and dreams, what they aspire to be, you would get a different set of answers from what you would get if you went into a middle income community and what you would get if you went into a wealthy, well funded neighborhood and asked, what do you dream of, what do you desire, and what are the dreams that drive you. So there's an element that is rooted in the imagination, the hopes, the dreams, the desires of those who aspire to wealth, already have wealth, or work with wealth.
Yeah, but that's interesting. It ties back beyond what you can ever dream
or imagine.
He's able to give it to
yes.
you. And so when you begin to take away hopes and dreams from individuals, you kill them.
You kill them.
You kill them.
Yeah.
And so, I'm seeing in
yes, I love what you're doing.
System, we've done a lot of things just to kill people's hopes and dreams.
Yes.
You must stay
shut
there.
them up.
You shut up. You do not speak about such things because it is not your place.
Right.
And that is why, for me, as a believer in Christ, in who God has represented through Him, that sets you free.
That is the freedom that you can dream.
You can dream.
Yeah,
God
there's
says,
no limits on your imagination.
If you can believe it or imagine it, beyond what you can hope or imagine, enter into covenant with me, I will make it happen for you.
All right, good. So right away you see that in this element you have the two sides of it. One, you have how the wealthy raise their children to dream and to hope for various things. And you have how the same wealthy system can kill, suppress, remove from the hearts and minds of a group that they don't want to enter into the kingdom.
And so
if you kill the dreams, then they don't even try to move. All they seek to do is move from one house to the next in the same neighborhood, or fix up what they have in the same neighborhood. They are not dreaming beyond you kind of set some invisible boundaries
on them,
that is one of the gatekeepers.
And that is the liberating thing about the gospel.
Yes.
That is so
set you free.
Yeah, man.
Sets you free. All right, so that's one. Yes. The second now is linguistic.
Yes.
That element is founded now in the language, the method of communication. Wealth has a language.
It does.
And if you want to be very specific about it, some people have a very posh accent because they went to certain schools, they were taught in a certain way. This is how their parents speak around them. And the minute you enter a room and somebody open their mouth, you can use it to say, all right, this is the treatment I will accord to this one because they've spoken the secret language of wealth. So now right away you know that you can break into that by learning the language. So if let's say you're the child of a housekeeper in a rich house or a middle class or whatever, you can mimic. We're talking now about how we break into.
And you see movies with that. You remember?
Which one? I love movies.
Pygmalion.
Yes, of course.
Pygmalion. The experiment that they did.
Eliza Doolittle.
And the guy, what was his name? Doctor?
I don't remember his name, but I do remember Eliza Doolittle.
And how he transformed her, took her
into a lady of substance by just teaching her how to speak.
Language, yes.
Yeah. So the method of communication, and one of the things too, as you are seeking to break the stronghold, I would take a child whose language is different from mine, and to break the barrier, the communication barrier between us, I would make the investment in understanding how he speaks. If he's into storytelling, if he's into drawing, if he's into mimicry, if he's whatever it is that he uses to best communicate his ideas, then it becomes my responsibility to learn it so that I can pull from him what is native and build from there. And it is one of the challenges of our education system, that our education system must show respect and give value to how our people communicate, so we can teach them the diverse ways of communicating in different environments, so they're not limited. You don't go to a board meeting where you need to be doing a pitch to raise money for your business and find that you're tongue-tied. Meaning, not to say you're not facile with the language, but you don't understand the cues, the different cues that you will get, the non-verbal cues that will come from persons when they are interested, not interested, and you end up talking yourself out of what you've gone to get because you didn't have the skills to communicate in that environment. So there's linguistic style and forms of communication. Then, of course, the big one is family ties.
Human resource.
The human resource.
Intergenerational
And how do you leverage that, use that, build that, sustain that? You're going to notice people who don't have money, you may have 3, 4, 5 different fathers accounting for the children in a family. There is no safe structure, no net that they can fall into or rely on. Or you might have a lack of support. There is a child of great ability in a family, but the family is poor, don't have the money and you don't have anybody who will say, come on, man, I will cover school fee. I will do books. I will do uniforms. I give them a holiday job. Family resources are a big part of how you generate, protect, sustain, and manage wealth.
There's a paper I read recently. I have a copy of it where they did some research in the States across ethnic groups. And what they discovered that family was so important in terms, it was economic justice, they call it.
Yes.
In terms of ensuring that the children were better off because they were in a committed relationship in marriage.
Yes.
I sent it to you. I found it interesting. Yeah.
Well, listen, I am the product of that. I am the product of a family of modest means, being able to accomplish a lot for the children simply because the commitment was there, the covenants were in place, and things were able to flow sideways, upside down, backways, whichever way. When I remember how I went to university from a country community, I come to Kingston, I live on Hall. On Sundays, I had a sister in Duane Park. She would either bring dinner or I go to her for dinner. I had a cousin who was running a business somewhere. I had a holiday job.
Wow.
And so it was that through a network of family resources coming out of humble,
same for me,
unremarkable
civil
circumstances.
Same for me. Yeah. And so we can reflect on in terms of the strong family ties and who would help who. Yeah. And even as I reflect on mom saying, I think I've said before, she decided, okay, the opportunity came for her to migrate. And she said, no, let my younger sisters who don't have that kind of go.
Yes, and she stay with her kids and build.
And they went and they have made a life for themselves.
Right.
Because they never had the ties that she had.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And, I remember now going to Barbados, and there was a very well-off young lady in our group. Her arrival in Barbados so much different from the rest of us. Her father flew up with her a month or so before, chose the apartment, bought the car, opened the bank accounts, and then when it was time for school, another journey went up, and so she was settled. I mean, the rest of us now, I do remember that my mother and my sisters came with me to the airport. I think they took a bus because it was just me going off to Barbados. And I'm not ashamed to say that I think in my immediate family, I am the first child to have gone so far with my education, gone to university. Not the first one to own and run business, but to have gone an academic route and then transferred it into a career and so on. I think I am I certainly in my immediate family, I am the first of my father's children to have gone that far. So when I was going off to study abroad, Barbados was foreign. Yeah, I have a picture of my mom, a girlfriend of mine, and my sister at the airport as they came to say goodbye to me. So that's so very different from how my very wealthy friend, whose father was the head of a multinational oil business. Yeah, I just remember that her father, they flew up and so on and so forth. We all land at the same place, but well, she's at a different point from where I am now. But notwithstanding, it did not make a difference in the outcome.
But it helps in beginning.
Yeah, but of course, and certainly her car was available to us when we need to run into Bridgetown.
Oh, you mean?
Few things, because she was a really sweet person. And then you have the social network. Now that is the big one. The school tie, the club, the old boys club, the godfather in the business. You can, when you have your idea unremarkable, though it might be for a business, there are 10 banks available to you to give you a loan. Every door is open. The social network is a critical element of what it is.
It has been used to push, or to push up or push down.
Yeah, and amidst that now, of course, are your peers and the other relationships that you can leverage, and all those resources allow you to navigate a variety of social spaces that will give you access to political power, access to economic power, to resources which may not be native to your own balance sheet.
You're right about
but it
that.
might as well be. And of course, you marry within groups. So it's not like, so the wealth stays within a certain network because persons intermarry and they support each other in a wide variety of ways. Oh, yes, yes.
Became a
A pariah.
to the family.
Yep.
He has gone on and God will find himself.
Okay, sir. I see you have a specific individual in mind.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's the social network. And then for number 5, you have the navigational skills element. This now is your ability to move within the network. Because, you know, there are some persons, they are a part of the social network, but for the life of them, they can't move. And you see it. Some of them become academics who never leave the campus. Some just keep studying. Some come out, get very high profile positions, but don't actually. And then you see, you hear they say they die poor, or they say, well, that one, you know, they don't go on to shine because they don't have the.
That related to emotional intelligence.
In some part, but sometimes
Like
it is. Sometimes it is that entitlement syndrome that makes you lazy. Sometimes it's just laziness.
Oh, that you don't want to move.
You don't need to. You have resources. You're not gonna die hungry, but you don't advance and grow because you are not able to navigate. Or some people say they don't have they don't have political skills. Then, you know, you land in a big law firm, all of you are starting at the same point, but some people are able to make the right connections to the right partners, get the right work, and so on and so forth, and perform at a level that allow them to advance.
What if you
others equally able in terms of skill, meaning technical skill, are just not able to navigate and to move in the same way? They can't play office politics, some will say, and you get the gist of it. So the skill and ability to navigate social, business, and other environments is one of the elements. Do you know what sometimes you hear they call people, they climb the social ladder? A socialite. They know how to get invited to all the right parties, and right. So there are some skills in that area that are a part of the culture that surrounds wealth.
You can pick up and make a call.
And then,
can make a call?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a call on you.
Yeah, your contacts list is a resource in itself. Is an asset. People could sell it like they do with scamming. Then the last point is where we were talking about Christ and his ability to offer skillful resistance. Now, when I look at resistance, I have to look at it from the two sides. First, it is resisting change, meaning there is a skill and there are some things you do to maintain the status quo. You know, you come up with things like fit and proper. Before anybody can enter a room, they have to be fit and proper. And there is a committee that knows exactly what that means. And it is, yes. You come up with,
unfortunate.
yeah, and you come up with agencies that you institutionalize in government to be amongst the gatekeepers. So regulatory agencies, for all the good they can do, began that way. Oh, we need to find out how to keep these kind of people out of this kind of neighborhood. So even some neighborhood associations, that's what they do.
Yeah, that's true.
They start off.
It's a big thing in America.
Yes, they start off safeguarding.
With the covenants.
With the same covenants.
With the covenants.
And then you have things like social clubs, private clubs. We're at a private club where there was a time when neither black people nor women could be here.
Serious?
Yes.
So you have broken down the
I have broken every barrier where that is
black and you woman.
Me black and I'm breasted. Some men are breasted, but I digress. So they create all these.
This time not me.
They create all these different institutions, so it look official. It don't look petty anymore. You know, when you're sitting on your veranda and you're sipping lemonade or whatever rum lace drink, the iced tea. When you're sitting on your veranda and you're talking about, you know, I saw Mr. Lawrence looking at that property across the road, you know. Looks like he wants to buy it. And somebody says, is he married? And he says, yes. And they said, but where's his wife from? They said, Mr. Lawrence is okay, you know, but the wife, we're not so sure.
So like a
and before you know it, I just made that up.
That sounds like experience speaking, Mr. Producer.
I just made that up. But the point is, those decisions used to be made in the living rooms and on the verandas.
They're still being made, actually.
And then they say, you know what? Let's create a department of so and so. And that's where the decision gets made. And you know what is even worse in today's day? They then appoint people like Mr. Lawrence. They say Mr. Lawrence, who they never want by the land. They appoint him to chair the board.
To be the gate.
And give him a mandate.
And give him a mandate that they don't want. So he might feel side. Poor Mr. Lawrence.
Absolutely.
That he's been paid.
Absolutely. That is the fraud that has been worked on us. But we're wise to it. And I'm saying now that there are these methods that are put in place to be a part of the gatekeepers to maintain the status quo. And that is why 60 years later, we are still, some of us have our nose pressed at the glass at the window looking in and can't figure out how to get in.
Looking, but you can't come in.
Cannot get in. All right.
You know that
so
song, right?
I do know that song. You can sing it again later.
No, man.
So in that area of resistance, you look at the experiences that exist in securing your rights, meaning either get them because you're trying to break in and you know that your constitution say you have an equal right to something, but for the life of me, you can't figure out how to get at it. So there are some protocols and some strategies that you can employ either to keep it within your group or to break into the group, take it out, pull out like open source, remove the barriers so it becomes a meritocracy. We talked about how Christ managed that for the adulterous woman. Yeah. He didn't focus on the sinner. He focused on the judge. He said, Judge, if you are pure enough to execute,
then go ahead and
throw a stone.
Yeah, because that was something I wanted to comment on in terms of the meritocracy. Okay. Case in point, JUTC, Mr. Abrams. That was a major thing. The headline, they said, when they found out what was capabilities to run such a multi-billion-dollar state enterprise. Yeah. They said, so for the children, you don't have to go to school. You just say, get to work. That was the commentary that was said in that article when it came out.
But you see, they were mistaken about what the institution is. They thought it was a multi-billion-dollar business. It's really a loss leader. You don't need no skill for run things into the ground. What
Really.
skill do you need to lose? How many they're set to lose? Like let us say 5 billion this year. What skill you need to lose 5 billion a year?
So that's
Tell me the skill you need to lose money. In fact, the word skill shouldn't arise at all. You'd be avoiding any kind of skill. In order to lose money, you need to be free from skills.
no, so it's kind of
Yeah.
hard though.
But-
Hard.
but-
But that's what
Yeah.
we need to become a nation more like that. You know what is unfortunate? You can cuss America, you know, but them, I think,
Listen, man, even if it slipped through the door and it lasts for 2 days, the minute somebody sniff that out, it's over.
yeah, them say no, man. Mm-mm.
And
Them
you
want
know
me to
what
crack.
too? Even the person benefiting from it would resign.
Yeah, because them say no.
I get a job like that. My bag is packed and at the door. You know, like when you're gonna have baby and they say, pack your bag, have it.
I'm back here.
If I get a job like that, my bag is always packed because I would say just a matter of time before they find out and I need to go. Instead, man is there through 2 different.
Yeah, but it don't really mean
Season.
anything at all, and so one of the things that we need to be looking at is you're talking about chain resistance to change, because I'm saying whether we like it or not, in Jamaica a lot of times it's who you know that get
Yeah,
you
but
through the door,
listen
get
to me,
the
man.
job.
That we're talking about right here, so now.
Yeah, it is. That's
The
what it is.
social network,
Yeah,
the
and-
family ties.
I was fortunate enough, you know, with all the works, the jobs I've had. Never know nobody. I
Me
know that-
worse.
I never knew anybody. I just saw something and applied.
And
the
went
first
for
one.
it, yeah.
And they said, okay. And the next one. And the next one. And the next one, the Lord knew me, so that's why I'm in this one.
Okay. The Lord called you by name.
He called me and said, okay. All right, son. The time
Right.
to come forward.
So we are placing some attention now on the experiences that come out of, let's say, the body politic. I love that phrase. In securing rights, benefits, freedoms, whether you are protecting and maintaining the status quo or you are seeking to break into it. Because you
Part of
have
the
to,
resistance.
first you have to know what it is before you can break into it. Many people seek to conform to the standards that maintain the status quo, so that all they do, you know, there are a number of us who we have our nose pressed to the glass and we are looking in and we want to break in and we see a path, and our only contribution is to close off that path when we get in.
Yeah. So we become gatekeepers ourselves.
So you become part of it, and usually those gatekeepers are the most ardent at their work.
It's like as we come up on the break.
We're coming up on the break already.
We're on the break.
Wow, we're right at the break. All right, you're going to have to share that big news with me during the break. Please stay with us when we come back. There are 2 persons we are to speak with this morning. Mr. Vivian Crawford of the Institute of Jamaica will be joining us by phone. I'm not calling the name of the other person yet until I have him in the waiting room. But suffice it to say, I want to look at some issues having to do with how those who have their noses pressed to the glass can break into this room of treasures. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Good morning and welcome back to the Morning Connection. I should say something about the beautiful Ligani Club because each time I'm here and it has given so generously to us this morning from the mango tree that I need to give some thank yous because the greenery here continues to impress. And we are pleased to be in the outdoors, fresh air, brilliant sunshine, and a little bit of the black, green, and gold to remind us that the season that we're in. All right, so Pastor, I have laid out my 6 elements, and I am pleased to say that the first person with whom we'll speak on some of these matters is none other than Mr. Granville Valentine. You know him. He should have been here with us. Was it last week or the week before? And all were excited to hear him speak on matters pertaining to unionism and the plight of labor, the condition of labor. He is the General Secretary of the National Workers Union. The National Workers Union is the foundation of the PNP, isn't it?
It is,
Oh,
and
hold
it's
on.
interesting that P.J. Patterson commented in an interview, an article on Sunday, was saying that for the PNP to revitalize itself, it has to go back to its union roots in terms of doing broad-based support. That was P.J. Patterson
Speaking about the PNP.
Yeah.
Yes, because your connection to the working class and to those who provide the labor that keep the engines going, that connection is invaluable. And yesterday I was sharing from the work of some social scientists who have concluded that when you are seeking to bring about change, one of the groups most effective in leaving a democratic process in place after the change has been secured, unions, trade unions.
But some people have argued that it's good or bad. There are goods and in terms of union involvement, because yeah, that's not a time for discussion in terms of the involvement of unions, because when you do unions, which is workers, then people say it some of the time inhibits real growth that needs to take place. I did a case study recently with Delta. And
Delta Airline?
that when they needed the turnaround, it was because their wage structure was so much skewed towards union that they couldn't really do anything, and they had to go into bankruptcy.
Hello, good morning.
Bankruptcy.
Good morning, Mr. Valentine.
Morning, boss. How are you?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
You're not hearing me?
Hello.
Good morning. I'm hearing you loud and clear. Are you able to hear me? Are you hearing me, Granville?
Morning.
Good morning. Not hearing me? All
Hello?
right. All right. Okay, hold on a second for me, please. All right, so I
You
think
hear
we
us?
have to do it the old-fashioned way. Good morning, Granville. How are you? Good morning, Granville.
Hello?
Good morning. Good morning, Granville. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Oh, okay. All right. I have to be doing this the old-fashioned way. I was hearing you loud and clear, but it didn't appear that you were hearing me
Yes,
initially.
something went wrong with my end of the system.
Yeah, but can I tell you, we are such determined people. We missed speaking to you 2 or so weeks ago when you were running the gauntlet for the sanitation workers.
You know, as you understand, it is another day in the struggle where you don't even sure what the work or what will be needed. And each day as you go by, one has to be just prepared for anything.
Yeah.
Because that's the role that we play as advocates and voice of the people, defenders of the ordinary man.
Well, can I tell you?
Everybody that is.
Yes. Well, everyone, all our listeners were all sympathetic and correctly guessed that you were called into urgent duty.
Yes.
So you were forgiven, and now I have.
I'm happy. I'm happy that
Yeah. And I thank you that on fairly short notice you have made yourself available this morning. I know you're on the road, so I don't want to distract you too much. Are you driving yourself or you are being assisted?
No, I'm fine because I'm using the speaker, the phone from the van.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So the distraction is minimal, so to speak.
So this morning, we are focusing some attention on just examining the cultural practices, protocols, values that surround and insulate wealth from being distributed equally, equitably, or just any kind of redistribution so that more Jamaicans can participate in the fat of the land. I use a phrase that Pastor Percival liked, the fat of the land.
Understood.
That's what, yeah, that's what we're looking at. And you are in a very important segment of the market because I describe it as the people who have their noses pressed against the glass,
Well,
wanting to get in.
and that is so true. Now, part of my concern, and has been my concern, is the fact that there is no will in our society, or very little will, to genuinely wants to share that wealth, yeah? All the opportunities.
Yes.
So, because of that, then the system doesn't automatically put in place opportunities for most of us. I mean, I will say this, a lot of us who came from humble beginnings, we have to break glass ceiling.
Aha.
To even get an opportunity to education, right?
So the greater will has to be on our side. I associate myself with those on the outside.
And I pretty much just the same, as a boy who come from country who care what and man. It is for us to truly recognize where we're coming from and to see how we can pull up more people from where we're coming from. Maybe not the same location, but people that could have been in the same position,
Right.
Somewhere in Jamaica and somewhere in the world and need the help. You see? So that is a big part of the problem. Not helping.
How do you see the role of the union in that part of the struggle? Are unions outdated in terms of what they can accomplish and how the world is structured now?
Absolutely not. You see, I tell people that trade union is as relevant as it was in the beginning. What has happened is that the paradigm shift in the way we might be introduced certain things, but we are at the table. Being at the table, then we will surely do everything.
You can have impact.
Serious impact in terms of the decision-making process. For example, when you look at the salary review that is taking place right now.
It is actually taking place?
Yeah, it is. But some will say it is a trade union that is holding up. The trade union that is making sure that whatever we come out with at the end of the day, whilst we believe that's a good intention, whatever we come out with must be something that changes the life of the people. This thing where, you see that piece of dumpling and a tip of water.
Yes.
You need a dumpling, you need a bottle of water like anybody else.
Well, how about a bag of flour? Or a flour mill?
Same principle.
Yes.
Now, so it is important that we stay at the table. And I tell you, I trust that we will find some young trade unionists who are really willing to go through the full gamut of the process and the struggle. Because I can tell you, the set of us that are here now, we are working no box off night and day to ensure that we reduce classism, we reduce racism, which a lot of people refuse to believe that it's pretty much in Jamaica. And we ensure that opportunities are not just for the affluence of our society. The children that born in Upper St. Andrew. I mean, some of my children born there, but I teach in the rooms.
I like how you say some. How many children do you have, Granville?
Only 5 children.
Oh, that is a very
That's a good
decent
number.
contribution.
Five, you said, sir.
Yes,
my
5.
last daughter just studies from Immaculate Tree, and so and they are all about 3 to 5 years apart.
Wow.
Aye, good planning.
Wow.
I don't know if it is planning, but I mean, of course, it could be much different, but it is good planning, you know.
Good planning.
And I look at it and I say, how can I use my children as an example to make sure that they want to understand where we're coming from, where we're at, how we get there, and how they should treat with people generally. Because it is this turning up the nose of people because they come from below off crossroads and because they're a country. You know? And I keep saying to people, you're turning your nose on the majority of the successful people in Jamaica. The majority, the vast majority, some of us either way.
So let me ask you this: as someone who is at the negotiating table, what are the kind of strategies or what are the kinds of benefits that you would seek to secure for workers so that they have a chance at building the kind of family situation that you built for yourself, or that they can enjoy the kind of social network that would give them access to what it is we need to achieve this redistribution of wealth? What are the kinds of things you are looking for? And of course, I want to know, are you getting those benefits?
And we are getting them in many places, but as you are pretty much aware,
yes,
a lot of the workers today are not as receptive to trade unionism as the workers in the past. But we're working on that, and we're educating our working class, etc. But look at it this way: one of the first things that we look at is equal opportunity within the workplace, and of course, respect. Respect must be dual, and everybody must get the same respect. But some of the benefits that we look at is that you, as a manager or as a senior worker, in whatever regard, should not get a better or different health card, female card. You should share the same canteen, so you socialize. I can walk in the canteen and you walk in the canteen. We all eat from the same canteen. You should share the same bathroom. So the space, so people feel belong. You should get the same opportunity to voice your opinion and also participate in change.
Yes.
Some of the things that we look at.
Those are, those to me, those are more important things than an additional dollar on your salary.
Yes. But
it speaks
we
to
also
respect
ensure
and self-esteem.
Yeah,
man, because you can build self-esteem by doing that. For people said, well, today I'm sitting with Tom Stroke, sorry.
Right.
I'm sitting with Tom Stroke,
Yes.
sitting around the same table. So you build the self-esteem. You also, the person should get the same opportunity to promotion.
Yes, right. I heard you say equal opportunity.
Yes.
So yeah, Pastor was saying meritocracy.
Yes, most definitely. So, these are some of the things that we look at. Their opinion counts, So when you are asking questions or you're making changes or you're looking for ideas, you go to every one of these people.
Consultation in the workplace.
Yes.
Let me
Down to the janitors.
Right.
Down to the janitors.
Granville, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you think the real change that needs to happen has to happen in terms of people's mindset and perspective? Because if you change people's mind, then everything else will follow. What do you think? Is that your greatest challenge you're facing now?
Yeah, you have to take the people out of the mental slavery. First thing, you have to allow them to believe. Yeah, you have to get them to a place where they start believing. And look, if you don't believe, you're not going nowhere, my friend. So you have to get them to a place where they start believing and where they start dreaming big and dream and work towards those dreams. Yeah? And so Many times when I talk to people and trying to be a little motivating,
Yes.
I tell them of my experience. I tell them when my mother, I'm never afraid of saying these things. When my mother works with parish council, and because the paymaster, so to speak, would go to Spanish Town, and he drives through Bagua Clean State to get the pay in Spanish Town. He drive all the way back to Kingston and come Stony Hill, and him take 4 days.
What?
Yeah, I'm take 4 days because I have about 5 baby mother along the way.
Oh, yeah.
These things teach me a lot. So when I leave Kingston, because I used to come to school in Kingston and go up on the weekend, my mother should have gotten pay on the Thursday. Now she don't get paid Thursday, and she don't get paid over the weekend. So Monday morning, we go
To go back to school.
I have to go back to school because me have to reach school. So me hold a truck back. So when me hold the truck back, and Stone Hill, yeah?
Yes.
Golden Swing up Stone Hill.
Yes.
And when you come in over that time, you didn't have no deportee and no new vehicle. So everything smoke. If on a truck back, it's like 0.5 per mile out they can travel it.
No.
And you have all of that smoke coming down.
Oh, jeez.
Now, from them days, I love looking good. So, when I reach town, I make sure I come out on a mall plaza there. Fix up myself and walk come on, because if you ever dare go around and come up on that truck back as a schoolboy who play football, who play cricket, and who do track and field, come off around this up. When schoolboy done mouth,
Yeah. Well, that also builds self-esteem. It either break you or make you.
It break you or make you.
Which school did you go to?
Camperdown, and then I passed through KC.
KC, Fortis.
But this Camperdown. Yeah?
Yes.
And, I tell you, it is not an easy road. But one has to know where you want, what you want out of life, where you want to go and where you're going. Right? So, it is important for us to understand that we also have to do something for ourselves.
Absolutely. And from what you're saying, the greater, and it makes sense, the greater impetus, the push has to come from those wanting to break in. So I like all that you're doing with regards to getting those benefits and rewards out of the work environment that can build self-esteem and promote growth. But I need to ask you now, from the side of just dealing with your union members, what is it that they are pressing for the most? I mean, are they focused on some of those things? Do they have the vision? Do they share what you see?
I think a lot of these workers do share some of these visions. It's whether or not they believe that it will happen. Because a lot of them believe that, them not help me.
Not in their lifetime.
They don't really respect me. So you have to make sure that you bring the worker, stand by the worker in a way that they too can see, yes, this is not just a pipe dream, but it is possible.
It's possible.
And you can leave, as you go by, you can leave some of those workers on their own, pretty much with remote supervision or guidance. But you can move on to another set of work.
And break in a new set. Yeah, there are a lot of callers. We get a lot of callers who say it can't be done. This generation is lost. People are not
Absolutely not.
People are not interested. They are giving you the full complaint.
Yes.
People not interested in change. They just sit down and take it. What's the mood? As you read it and as you are closer to
I tell you, when workers realize that they have representation and they start trusting the representation, the mood is a complete different one.
militant.
Not necessarily just militant, but they start believing that the change will come and the change can come.
So it's hopeful.
They start hopeful, and they start working towards that change. They start participating. So when you look, they are motivated, and you see a different person, right? So workers being organized are a good parent. Because when you're not in a unionized environment, you must have either a good parent coming from a home with that person's family life is a bond, it is family life, and these people don't have to be university students to be good parents. Yeah? Many of us parents never go to university. Some of them might be never go to school. Yeah? But they teach us values.
Right.
Yeah?
The family ties.
The family ties are strong.
And that value that instilled. Today, we still carry it on, and we pass it on. So, my take is that the working class, both trade union and those who are the positive people of society, need to pass on some of the knowledge, pass on some of the assurance, be concerned about our society, be concerned about our people, and be concerned about the future. So when we grow up and you find a man who come and he would read to all of us, a group of guys, a group of children, a group of youngsters.
Yes.
And he would explain something. Nobody don't visit nobody again.
But of course, you are doing your part on the motivational speaking circuit, and I thank you for that. We have like 2 minutes to go. I can't believe it's been about half an hour since we've been talking. I hope we have been good company for you. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
Well, I want you sitting at table with me, so we have to plan that better when you're not under such when the urgent demand for your time is less. As we're going, I just want you to say for me, have you seen an uptick in the hopefulness, the readiness for change? Are the unions seeing a little more interest from the worker side in fighting for and securing the benefits that they desire?
The truth is that, as I said, the unionized groups, we are seeing some of that.
Okay.
But my concern is the 80% that are not unionized.
Right.
How much of that group? And that is where you find a lot of workers find themselves in different positions with different goals, thinking different. So a man say, boy, I mean, no, but no increase. And this is where our employers needs to come in and play a role where they are going to set the bar. And they are going to ensure that in the workplace, those workers are feeling that confidence that they too can make it. And there's an opportunity for them. Because we are not everywhere. And whilst we will engage in the public space, and among the workers that we represent, they are the majority who don't believe that
who don't currently enjoy representation. All right, when we invite you back, we want to look at some of the strategies to get a more broad-based involvement from the worker side. So some of what you're doing can be, the impact of it can extend to a larger number of persons. We're saying goodbye to you now. I just want Pastor Percival to say his last word.
I was just saying what you have said is very instructive to us in terms of there's hope out there. And you spoke to the values in terms of family, in terms of helping to raise the overall hope index, I call it, in Jamaica, so we can do better.
All right. Thanks very much, Granville. Drive safely.
It's my pleasure.
And we hope to see you soon.
You catch me off guard, but
you were not off guard. You're just saying that now. All right, my brother. Take care.
Listen, my friends, and have a good one. And I just want to say to Jamaica, Jamaica is nice.
Every time.
And this earth, let us take it back and let us help everyone. Hold somebody on. And if you drop a few, then the few will be many.
Yes, if each person does that. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Blessings, my friend.
All right, good. All right, so we're at we're 2 minutes past the half-hour mark. We're taking our break now. Please stay with us. We're going to be right back just to unpack some of what Granville shared with us before we move on to our next guest.
STEM Uprising invites you to support their 5th annual blood drive and back-to-school treat at the Lionel Town Hospital on Friday, August 19th. The blood drive starts at 9 a.m. and you can join us at midday for the back-to-school treat. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, invite as many donors as you can, and you will be eligible to earn cash prizes starting at $10,000 for third place, $20,000 for second place, and first place prize of $50,000. And there's more! Free medicals for all students returning to school this September. Don't miss this opportunity to give blood and save lives.
Well, welcome back to the Morning Connection, and we are so grateful to Mr. Valentine for sharing with us on this rather important topic. I hope you agree that it's an important topic. We've got to figure out how we are going to achieve the redistribution of wealth in a safe and peaceful way, and what happens with our workers is an important part in that discussion. Percival, what's the highlights for you from our chat with Mr. Valentine?
For me, it was the fact that he was calling for a return to lifting up each other. He say, hold somebody hand and pull them up. And he says if we do that, it will be better for all of us. And secondly, that he believes there's hope still, even though union representation is not as significant as it used to be. He's saying hope is there because people are becoming more educated as to what the union can do. And the whole thing of classism and so on. And the fact that him not only talking it, him acting it out in terms of what he has done with his 5 children, in terms of their reality.
Yes.
I found that significant for me.
Yeah.
Which is what we need to do, you know. We're not only out there talking, but we're actually practicing what we're speaking about.
My takeaway is really that last point that he was making about the 80% of workers who are not unionized. When we think about the strides we want to make at the level of the working class level. I hate that expression, honestly, because really, of a fact, to me, everybody who work is working class. I don't like it. To say it even make me cringe. But when you think about workers, the labor force, and the strides you want to make in improving the conditions under which we work, the conditions of pay, everything having to do with gainful employment, the idea that 80% do not enjoy, I'm going to say representation, and we have to talk about what is union representation really, and is it necessary to achieve any kind of advances. But when he says 80% are not represented, and that's the worry that he has, it has stayed with me, because I now have to think, all right, if a convenient voice for labor is a union, if a useful, relevant voice is the union, and 80% of the people not a part of it, how impactful can we really be? Not to say we can't have impact, but obviously you need other strategies at work in the field to engage those who are not represented by the voice. That's the part that kind of struck a chord with me, because even what we're doing here, we have to find ways to get more persons involved in the conversations that we raise, and to get more persons locked in on the perspectives that we promote. I think about that because I know that for me, even the business of talking it through with you on air, with the callers who engage with us, even just that exercise builds me up. So I'm just imagining that a man out there who have those thoughts and would love to talk it through and refine his own attitudes in various situations, how much he would benefit from participating in a process like this. I think about that and I say, boy, how can we do more, have greater impact? And I'm not one of the persons crying for action, because I know that action without a sound motivating force and a clear idea of what we're doing and why is just beating the wind.
True. Yeah. So that's important, and it struck me yesterday when I left the program.
All right. I think our second guest, Mr. Crawford, is on the line with us. Are you hearing me, Mr. Crawford?
Hello. Good morning, Mr. Vivian. You know, Mr. Vivian Crawford is an icon to me.
Yes.
In terms of culture and what it represents in our nation. So I'm glad that I can speak to icons. I spoke to Shellyan, I spoke to Usain Bolt.
Good morning, Mr. Crawford.
Good morning, Sister Minnie. How are you?
I am very, very well. Pastor Percival was making a speech to you. He'll have to repeat it. Pastor, your turn.
Good morning, Mr. Vivian Crawford. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Pastor Percival.
Yes.
I'm not hearing you very well.
But what time?
And I know Percival.
Oh, you sound like a KC man.
It's from the state dad.
Oh,
Pastor Percival from Portland.
no, I'm not, you know. I'm from...
You didn't make it.
No.
Where his brother is from.
He's also from St. Anne.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
Manchester.
I didn't travel far.
Never travel far.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So now that we made it to Portland, that's where we all left you. Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to go for it.
no, but what I...
Congratulations for your wonderful program, and thank you for allowing me to travel in your space on my way to work as we work together to make the best.
Listen, I know, I keep a record of these things, because some of these things you will not hear again. Pastor Percival.
I wanted to say this, sir. I consider you an icon in terms of culture in our country. Yes, sir. I've seen... I don't keep bad company.
We don't be again.
All right.
We keep correct. Yes.
Yeah, but really appreciate the work that you do.
Yes.
The work that you do in terms of culture. And And we're on the subject of culture and wealth is culture. So we're engaging you this morning, sir.
Yeah.
All right. Well, aside from your own unique perspective on things that have nothing at all to do with the work you do at the Institute of Jamaica, one of the reasons that we wanted to speak with you, you are the gatekeeper. You know, did you tell me that you are? No, you have to say it yourself because it made me laugh and I don't want to take away from it. But he's like employee number one. The Institute, the role of the Institute, could you give us a little synopsis of how you see it and what you have been doing there?
Well, thank you very, very much. We will never be able to repay you for asking that question. Because we have been around since 1879. I joined the following year.
I don't know why I will say anything at all, you know, because we're back 1879.
I joined the following year.
No, sir.
The Institute of Jamaica was established in 1879 by Governor Anthony Musgrave, and any Musgrave name you hear in Jamaica is after him. Even the marketing portal told you Musgrave Market, Musgrave Street, because that's what the British did in order to prolong, to know about their heritage and their history. You know about theirs and not ours. Mm-hmm. And my own Mackenzie and her husband Herman could have taught us in sociology this thing of acculturation, where the conquered impose their values and attitudes on you. So here we are. It was established in 1879 by the governor for the encouragement of literature, science, and art. Thank God is Jamaica science, Jamaican literature, and Jamaican art. And that's what we are about. And next door to it, let me hasten to say what is now the National Library, which is the repository of all the intangible heritage of Jamaica. That's the space where Mary C. Cole was born in 1805, and the largest statue of a black woman in England 2019 was unveiled in her honor. Hey, Jamaica.
I hear you. We hear you.
Colonization in reverse, one statue at a time.
But you know, Mr. Crawford, acculturation is not a new concept. It has happened all the time. So, yeah.
Children of Babylon.
Absolutely.
Children of Babylon, yeah.
So the Institute of Jamaica, it started in 1879, but quite a number of institutions have come out of the Institute of Jamaica. The University of the West Indies, the discussions took place there in the 30s, and then Executive Director, late Sir Philip Sherlock, he left to be the founding secretary. And your program is so wonderful because your program speaks about challenges and how to overcome them. I was telling someone about your program, and I said, this program reminds me of what happened at the pool of Bethesda.
Okay.
That it was not a Jamaican who was waiting there. A Jamaican wouldn't have waited for
30 odd years. No, sir. What do you mean? We'd have to...
Don't wait for the water to be troubled. We have to trouble the water.
Absolutely.
True. Agree with you 100%.
We'd have formed a human chain and move one another, thereby fair means or foul.
Absolutely. He studied at the University of the West Indies, and he played a pivotal role. In fact, he told us in my student days at Mona that in the 40s, he was in England having university discussion, and the helper that he left with his dear wife was no help, because she was listening on the radio about the bombings in London, and she cried every night. And one night the helper knocked on her door and said, "Mrs. Nobody cry, nobody bad. If anything happens to you, you'll send home the body." But it echoes from you what you have been saying on your program, that we must get over the challenges and move and do something. Trouble the water. Oh.
Absolutely.
And I heard I saw on the television this morning former Ambassador Andrew Young saying that we must not get mad. We must know how to correct something.
Yes.
We don't get mad about something. We correct it.
Yes, because anger will cloud the judgment and you will miss your opportunity to strike. We were just speaking with Mr. Granville Valentine, who is a trade union man, and we touched on some subjects. In particular, I asked him what were the things that they were asking for at the bargaining table now that would address the raising of the self-esteem of our workers, so that we could be in a state of readiness to break that glass, whether it is the ceiling or the one that we have our noses pressed to. And so, as a man who stands right at the gate of the history of our activities, now speaking of the Jamaican nation, what do you see as perhaps a defining thing that we need to bring into the marketplace for our workers that could shift us into a greater state of readiness?
Yes, I hasten to say, and I want to say the MIND.
Yes.
The mind. Because there are three institutions you're aware of which supply what we have: the home, the school, and the church.
Yes.
And until we have a revisit of those three institutions, we can complain. We don't like this politician we're paying 40 out, but where is he coming from? Home,
Home.
school, and church. And so we have to work on that mind. We have to work on the mind of the man at the pool who was waiting for the water to be troubled. My mother said of the person, the 10 persons, the one who returned.
Oh,
was the most faithful one, because he had something to do. The others were upset that they were healed because they had to go and find something to do.
I've never heard that interpretation yet. That's why I'm coming to say thank you.
You have to work with the mind.
Oh,
yes.
geez. No,
They were
sir.
so upset. Oh, Jesus, some healed it.
And took away their unique selling point.
Okay.
The mind. And so, such a beautiful point you're making. What do we do with the redistribution of wealth? How do we create wealth? It has to start with the mind.
Yes.
Otherwise, we will be having this discussion forever.
And I agree with you, Sir Vivian, in the fact that for me, renew the mind, change the mind, everything else works out perfectly for you in regards to what needs to happen. Change people's minds. So last week, Dr. Canoe Thompson spoke to that also. Yes, and he was speaking to that in terms of our philosophical leanings in terms of how we deal with education. So you are agreeing with him that that needs to be done.
So that pushes me now to ask you this, and both of you can chime in. We know that the mind is not an empty place, it is always active. And we can see that the fertility of our imagination give us scamming.
Yeah.
What is the thing we are going to add now to move us from gravitating towards scamming, where plenty money, when you listen to what the government say, the police are recovering from those who went into it and have been caught, and you can only imagine that plenty not caught.
Yeah.
When you look at the wealth, that means somebody is out there imagineering and getting into some high value wealth generating schemes. How are we going to turn the mind from that activity then? What is it that we should be focusing on?
You learn to promote more at primary school. All elements. Well, in my time, it was elementary. I'm a student. Joined the institute a year after this founded 1879.
Right, because
you were taught. My generation was taught. When health is lost, something is lost. When wealth is lost, nothing is lost. When character is lost, all is lost.
all is lost.
Repeat that again, sir. I would say not church. Say that again, Pastor.
Because there was a very wealthy man going to work overhead.
Yes.
And around this time in the morning, we have to wait until the The helicopter lands before. So you'll have to say it again.
Say it again.
Oh,
Yes.
I don't even teach them again. Well, health, but my mother told me this before I went to elementary school, and I started school at 7. When wealth is lost, nothing is lost.
Uh-huh.
When health is lost, something is lost. When character is lost, all is lost.
All is lost.
Okay.
So it's wealth, health, and character.
And the story follows that. 3 men were brought before the court to this sentence for stealing. Okay?
Yes.
And the first one, he had stolen a tin of sardines. There were 4 sardines in the tin.
Mm-hmm.
And he got 4 years sentence.
Right. One for each sardine.
The other one had stolen 3 of it. There were 24 eggs
Ooh.
and 3. 24 years and the third man collapsed.
What had he stolen?
That's right. We cannot, it might sound frivolous, but we cannot speak enough about character.
Yes.
Character, because Pastor will tell me, David could have heard Saul.
Many
In fact,
times.
Put that piece and jacket deal.
Right. Right.
The here, I have it, I'm not hurting. So it's the mind, it's the mind, it's the mind. Because the scamming and the stealing, there was a generation when, as I tell people, when I came to Kingston in 59, there were no burglar bars. There were no burglar bars. Touch window.
Didn't need
One
them.
year, 1 year after the emancipation of slavery, 1838, in 1839, Governor Metcalf was writing to England. They have a street named after him by KP.
Yes.
He wrote to see 1 year after emancipation. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The people are so quiet.
Oh, aye.
There's no police. And there's no police.
I know. Aha. You know.
Police force, as you know, Sister Millet came on 1867 after Martin Uprising. So,
That is probably the deepest, the most significant thing, aside from the joke about the bag of rice, that you have said. Because guess what? There would have been an expectation that these newly emancipated subhumans are just going to kill one another and then come into the big house and violate the white women.
yes.
And if a year later, he could be saying, quiet, they're quiet. Why is it that 60 years later on Emancipation Day, we killed 3 people? And we were not being provoked by the vision of the white people still living high off the hog and on our unpaid labor.
Something was not sorted out
Yeah.
from the 3 institutions with regard to the man, the home, the school, and the church.
And the church.
I come down heavily on home and especially school because the teachers are getting, some teachers are getting a hard time. I called a teacher once and I said, how's everything? She said, she's tired. I said, tired at school just that. She said she had to run down the children and to catch them to teach them.
You know something, I'm not allowing you.
No more jokes.
Well, I'm serious because everybody knows that I'm a very shy, quiet and soft person. I don't give jokes. But
Okay. I have to maintain my dignity. She had to run down the children to catch them and teach them.
To the principal's office. The parents
Yeah.
have to show more support for the mind to teach their children honesty, content with what you have, create your own. Create your own.
So now, you know, that is the other half of the conversation,
Yeah,
to unlock that creative source within us, because we do have the capacity to create our own. We're creating many things. Unfortunately, some of us at an early age were led to believe that what we create isn't of value. Do you know, I do remember you were saying something to me about the art, the artwork of black people. black children in school. What happened to it?
No wonder you're a lawyer.
Well,
You have done medicine too.
and then perhaps I would have done better at it.
No. You're doing so well. The thing is,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad. Oh, we are indebted to you for mentioning that word art.
Yes.
Let me just prefix it by saying at the National Gallery in Jamaica was established only in 1975, just last week, because art was not intended for the likes of us. Our own Professor Colin Chandler said, our ancestors did not come through immigration, but through customs because we were regarded as goods.
As cargo.
Yes, so art, what is art? Art is like a book. Every picture tells a story.
Tells a story.
But for us, it's not for us. We are supposed to pay money and go abroad and see what people have done. So our art, as I told the sister a minute, is a Riverton dump.
Yes.
Children do art for art's sake, they throw in a gully.
Yes.
Here's at the National Gallery now. I'm standing up to say it. At the National Gallery now, the work of a Jamaican. He was born in England. His parents are from Jamaica. Incidentally, he was inspired just a minute. He was in Port Rios. And he started building and he painted it. And that is now in one of the big museums.
Wow.
But I have a little thing to tell you that gentleman, Irving Anderson, his work in April, one of his works in April of this year, went on the auction block in England.
Yes.
And it went for 10.6 million
Pounds. Oh my. So now, okay, I take back my earlier statement. This is the most significant thing you have said. Because, continue. I won't. Let me hear the rest of it.
I'm saying also
Yes.
that Trelawney, as a parish, did not have a high school for boys until in the 1970s. Because
Lord
the
have
colonial
mercy.
policy was after age 15, boys were supposed to go and cut cane. How many more
So then-
Tuesday goals we might have had if we had a home
If-
school? Because he benefited from the boys' school there.
Yes.
The church.
And you know, Mr. Crawford, I say it is in a part of my campaign, and when we get to addressing constitutional reform in a more thorough way, it will come up. Do you know that our constitution only guarantees education up to all age school, which Pastor tell me is like what? What is that
12,
age?
15,
Age 12?
Primary, actually.
It's, you know,
In our constitution today in Jamaica, we don't have tertiary education as a right.
not fear.
Yes.
Fear not fear, God's hands are here. Because my grandmother paid a penny to go to primary school from age 7 to age 10. And from age 11 to age 15, it was penny, half penny. So I said to her, what could a penny buy? She said, 1 pound of beef. And there was a man from Mizpah, Walderston Post Office in Manchester.
Yes.
Wilfred Frederick Bailey, whose daughter Amy Bailey.
Yes.
He organized what we know today as the Jamaica Union of Teachers, 1892, and lobbied that be discontinued, and it was discontinued in 1894. Who got the praise? Bishop Nuttall, because he was the chairman of commission.
Of the
It was just
commission.
10 years ago through research. I said, but by God,
Yes.
you can't keep down truth unless you are willing to stay down there with it.
With it and yes, let it hide under your feet.
So we're not fearful that it stops there, because this generation will change it.
Absolutely. We are doing our part. And I thank you so much for your sterling contribution this morning. The next invitation will hopefully have you sitting at the table with us, because there's so much that we would like to share with you and just to hear from your perspective and what you have there in the archives. I want Jamaicans to become curious and fired up about their history
down there
and be
visit it.
motivated to that. The exhibition that is going on at the National Gallery is absolutely amazing, and I thank you again, because you said to me I should not miss it, and I did not, and I've been enriched by it. Thank you, Mr. Vivian.
Thank you very much.
And looking forward to seeing you again. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Brother Lowell, you get some love.
All right.
All right. God bless you. Have a great day.
congratulations on what you are doing for nation building.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. All right. Wow.
Thanks.
We couldn't ask for a better conversation. All right, we're going to take our break. We're 2 minutes past it. And then when we get back, Percy and I will just gush some more over all the treasures that we have received this morning from our two guests. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back.
STEM Uprising invites you to support their 5th annual blood drive and back to school treat at the Lionel Town Hospital on Friday, August 19th. The blood drive starts at 9 a.m. and you can join us at midday for the back to school treat. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, invite as many donors as you can, and you will be eligible to earn cash prizes starting at $10,000 for third place, $20,000 for second place, and first place prize of $50,000. And there's more! Free medicals for all students returning to school this September. Don't miss this opportunity to give blood and save lives. STEM Uprising invites you to support their 5th annual blood drive and back to school treat at the Lionel Town Hospital on Friday, August 19th. The blood drive starts at 9 a.m. and you can join us at midday for the back to school treat. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, invite as many donors as you can, and you will be eligible to earn cash prizes starting at $10,000 for third place, $20,000 for second place, and first place prize of $50,000. And there's more! Free medicals for all students returning to school this September. Don't miss this opportunity to give blood and save lives.
welcome back to the Morning Connection. Thank you for staying with us. It's hard to tell how many of you are staying with us because, of course, we don't take calls the way we normally do on this Thursday morning, and I gotta address that because having had two very, very interesting conversations. Yeah, I would have loved to hear what you think about it. I already see Earl Brown asking who wrote the Jamaican Constitution. Well, I think he knows that it was an order in council written by the British up there in the Queen's parlor. I don't know why I said that. I was like, see the Queen in her parlor. But yes, it wasn't written by Jamaicans. It's an order in council coming from England. Those are the terms on which they let us go.
No, just for clarification.
Yes.
There were some gentlemen locally
Yeah.
who did what they did.
And
So
some
explain
people
to me
call
that
it
process.
negotiation.
And explain to me that process. So they just took something from there and came up with this, but what really released us, you're saying, is that the Queen's all right.
Yeah. Yes, it was. If you look at it, it's an order in council made by Queen and her advisors sitting in meeting, and several of their possessions in the territory, I think it's like North Atlantic and Caribbean region, were taken off the budget at the same time, and a standard constitution was done for each of them. So it really doesn't look. If you can know that there wasn't anything uniquely crafted for Jamaica, because when you look at it's a prototype of that applied to different.
What were the other countries? Canada.
Oh, hold on. No, not Canada.
Africa.
Not Africa either, because they bunched them in. I'll bring it up and just tell you which ones.
I think I need to educate us.
Yeah, I'll bring it up and show you the list. So it wasn't. You're right that before it came into being, there were of course local conversations, and there are some people who call it negotiations. Because they went through a form of consultation. Sir Bustamante, the two leaders of the day, Norman Washington Manley. So there were local voices, but I would not say that you had equals sitting at the table saying these are the terms on which we will disengage.
Okay. They say it was a prototype that those a couple of colonies at that point in time were just cut off the budget.
Yes, I'm gonna bring it up and show you. I'm just trying to find it on because I have it, the order in council that applied to a number of territories
at that point in time.
Yes.
Any countries in Africa?
No.
Only Caribbean.
But remember that they didn't address Africa until somewhat later.
The man is that fine.
Yeah. Constitution.
Like Kenya,
all right, but while we are thinking about that,
what he said in regards to you notice in Trelawney never had a school for boys.
Yes.
That was significant until 1975, which would have been, to my mind, William Nib, where St. Paul's went.
All right, so sorry, I found it. So it was for the Caribbean and North Atlantic territories. Let me see.
And yeah, so it was, and then they spoke about, rather in humor, but it was really funny with the three persons who were held for stealing with the sardines and the
eggs.
Eggs and the bag of rice.
And the bag of rice. Well, that goes to show we could count. We were always numerate. All right, so there are three things that I want to touch on with you and emphasize coming out of the discussion. Of course, the one that touched me from Mr. Valentine's conversation was that he says 80% of workers are not within the group for which the union speaks, and that is such a significant number that you have to wonder. So what's happening there? And what are the strategies for engaging such a large number?
For the BPOs.
And then, well, I'm sure union busting would I don't know that sector is going to be unionized anytime soon because of just even the way they contract them, the workers, that is. All right. So he mentioned, let's start with the one that touches on at the core of what we're talking about, wealth and wealth in culture. Irvin Anderson, I must search him up, Jamaican artist or of Jamaican parentage living in the UK, whose artwork was sold at auction for the princely sum, the not too shabby sum of 10.6, was it? 10.6 million pounds sterling. You're looking him up?
Yeah.
I would say to anyone who is thinking about a career in the arts, visual arts, just consider that and meditate on it. That's what I would say to you. Meditate on it. Because just the fact that someone of your nationality or ethnic lineage can rise to that level of excellence in terms of the demand for his work, that should motivate you. And we need more of that.
Hurvin. H-U-R-V-I-N.
Oh, I didn't. Well, I should know that there's a H in it.
Hurvin.
I should know. His name is Hervin. I was spelling it wrong. I was spelling it with an I.
It says, his paintings draw on a second generation Jamaican British heritage to explore the ideas of whatever. So his was sold for 10.6 million.
Pound sterling, not Jamaica, not American dollars, which we like to think is the benchmark. And yes, there's something of his biography here on one of the sides. Irvin Anderson, traversing the realms of figuration and abstraction. UK-based, Irvin Anderson's landscapes, portraits, and still lifes explore his Jamaican heritage while touching on themes of familial roots, dislocation, and the visibility of blackness. How absolutely cool is that? Actually, I think there is this, I believe this piece is at, something is on display at the gallery
In
downtown.
Jamaica,
Yes. When I was there recently, I saw like a nude in a setting that looks like the Last Supper. Very irreverent, Pastor. You would stand before it and gaze for a long time. All right. So that's interesting to know that we are at that level. And of course, our musicians and even the beautiful faces of Jamaica are right there on the front page of the cultural pages. The second thing he said, which we should consider deeply, it was only in 1975 that the parish of Trelawney had the first school for boys. And then he said what most people probably turn to: how many Usain Bolts we've denied the world, ourselves, and their families because we never had education targeting boys from that parish close to home until 1975. 1975 is I mean, it's just the other day. Yeah. And that was happening. Remember now, independence was 1962. So we were standing at the table determining priority of spend and plan and infrastructure when that oversight took place. And maybe the first couple of years is an oversight, but when it continued up to 1975, now it's a plan, it's a strategy. Until William Knibb, you said, a church. Again, please
Knibb, yeah.
speak about the church's role in that. The church get knocked on the head many times.
But the truth is, if you look at the directory of schools in Jamaica, over 30 to 40% of schools, even at the primary level, are owned by the churches on church property.
Yes, I know, but we're talking about Trelawney now.
Yeah, but I'm just saying to you that.
And it should be so,
yeah,
because them used to own slave too. So it's only fitting that
terms of
they build some schools on the land
yeah,
that slaves used to
and
work.
So to educate. So we get enough knocks, but we did do right in some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you only remembered for your last good deed.
That's true still.
That's it.
But what we're going to do, we have to keep
Yeah,
pushing.
you have to
and
keep
saying we have to
pushing.
change. 'Cause when the Moravians came, and they were not like the state church, which is the Anglican church, they went against the grain, the Moravians, and they went out and did stuff. And
Well, they were born out of Protestantism.
yes, yeah,
As they were
that
pushing
part of
against the
state.
norm.
Yeah, man. So
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I don't want us to miss. Church has a major role to play. I think that was the point that
Mr. Crawford made that point too. He
Yeah.
says 3 institutions: home, school, church.
Yeah, they have a role to play, and so even some politicians have.
And some might start with church and say, if your moral compass is in fit, fine working order
Everything else.
from the start, it will influence the home you create and therefore the way you educate your children.
Wonderful.
So we can shift it now and give some kind of prioritization to how we look at those institutions. If you have good moral sensibilities, then it affects your home life, and naturally how you educate your children will follow a particular pattern.
So we have stepped away from the marketplace.
So that was what the plight of Trelawney. And I want to emphasize that while we were at the helm of government, we decided that Trelawney wasn't worthy of certain type of consideration, because look at the local economy of Trelawney, how close they are, what was going on there in terms of sugar, and still holding on to the old bastions of power and wealth. The young men had to remain available as cheap labor, so they couldn't be spending time in school learning to be anything else.
Yeah. So,
And we are still seeing some of those those assumptions are still at work. I really want to get back to Canute on talking through the assumptions that underpin the policies in education, because those assumptions are the hidden derricks, the strongholds that keep our people in a certain position and condition of servitude, enslavement, and bondage. The third thing now, he said, which we've really got to consider it, not from the perspective of the bigotry of the white people who expected us to turn savages the day after emancipation, but we have to look at it from our own point of view now, the internal reflection. Many of us, myself included, pull up the ugly history of slavery when I'm looking at what has us in our current condition. And we know slavery played a role. But here we have the shocked governor saying a year after emancipation, oh, the place so quiet and we don't have no police. The people who we thought were animals and who were going to descend into every type of perverse behavior are busy minding their business and going about their own thing. Who were we then that we are not now? We didn't descend into savagery against the people who would have deserved it if some of us were vengeful and said we're going to burn down and take back. And no, we turned our backs on them and went into the free villages and were busy trying to create a life. Yet today's Jamaica sees a level of savagery against our own that is unimaginable. On Emancipation Day itself, 3 people were killed. Well, minimum 3 is what I hear about. God knows the other atrocities that have not been reported, and the bodies that are going to be discovered 2 weeks later because our police force didn't learn of it or get on with it in time. So what is it? And Pastor, I gotta put this one to you now. To what is it in the Jamaican psyche that is so different today? That a year out from slavery, through brutal treatment and being treated in a subhuman way, we could maintain our dignity and go about our business peacefully. Yet, 60 years later,
even on the day that we honor as the day on which we gain some level of freedom, we are cutting each other's throats and behaving like savages. What is it that you would? How would you address that question? We're just talking now. I'm not fixing you to any one answer. All right. While you are researching it, I see you researching fear of God. While you're researching it, here's something that I think. I think on the day after slavery, you are so filled with hope, and you are so grateful for your changed circumstance that you have no time but to focus on making the best use of it. And there's the hope that fuels you into imagining that there is something far greater ahead of you that you're working to. And you may be even thinking that my children will not die in slavery. I won't die in slavery. I am seeking to position them for a better life. I'm trying to build an economy. I want to see how I can sustain. And you're very hopeful. It's like when you just come out of law school, or when you just graduate college, or when you get your first job and you're excited about it. And that carries you for maybe a generation or two. Your children are born into that situation of hopefulness. You are telling them, this is a great day. This is better than where we were last time. And so at least two generations might be carried on that wave of hopefulness. By the time you get around to the third and fourth generation, you now have seen that it's not as easy. You're saying that, my born comes to my mother in this hovel and I'm still here. You now begin to feel the pain and the disappointments of not achieving, what you had desired. And then bitterness begins to creep in. And the bitterness builds and it builds until here we are. Down the road now, even after independence, 60 years. Let's take where we are now, because after emancipation, we then got excited again with independence. And then as we get beaten and we're not seeing the fruit, the harvest that we are expecting keeps coming up blighted, then, we become something savage. That is what I am seeing.
Could it be that in the foundations of the things that we have sowed, our priorities and what were the important things in life, we skewed, and now we are reaping the whirlwind.
The blighted crop?
Yeah. Because, the truth is there's nothing wrong with wanting to be better than your parents. There's nothing wrong with going after this life, the good life.
Yes.
But if in going after the good life, you have forgotten what was the important things. Remember when the children of Israel came into the land and they says, you read it this morning in terms of the wealth that will be created. Don't forget the source of all of this wealth that you're going to reap. It comes from me. So when I speak about the fear of God, it is an understanding that we are created in his image and likeness. And if that is so, there's a certain way that you operate in relation to God, but you operate in relation to man. And so when what you want, self becomes the overarching thing, you're gonna reap it at some point in time. You're gonna see that in your family.
Yeah, but at a high level, that is the ultimate answer to everything. That man, it is man's transgressions that bring him into a place of pain and hardship. Because there is that is like the answer to every question surrounding that issue. But what I would like for you to do with me is bring it a little closer to ground now and say, how have we exalted self above the Creator in some of the structures, some of the things we have done? Because what we're looking at now, is correction.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you begin with that and you see if in setting up your constitution, the way that you set it up,
Yes.
you set it up that one, it is supposed to be a constitution for every Jamaican.
Right.
But even setting up your justice system, inheriting it is not really true justice the way that it should be. You're going to get problems.
So you're now looking at the lack of diligence and maybe intentionality
In terms of-
making sure that this thing here that we're doing, it is delivering value to all,
Yeah.
not just
And-
to some.
But to all. But look at it too. Some have said that after emancipation and they had amelioration, and then okay, you're selling out your chattel slaves and so on, and then for years some people just finished paying off what would have been paid to the slave owner.
To compensate them for losing their property.
But you never built that. You came out of that. You understood that that arrangement was in place. But even setting up your constitution, the way your constitution set up is that the first person you pay,
Your creditors.
yeah, you
Yeah.
don't. So you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah.
So even in
And it
terms
would
of-
be very interesting, Percy. It would be very interesting to look at what the list of liabilities looked like in 1962. Who are we really paying
at that point in
at
time.
that point in time? And it's available. We could find it.
Yeah, because-
What was on the budget as payables at that time? Because maybe we were paying the Queen. Maybe she was still collecting from the top. I'm just saying, I've never looked at it myself. But you gotta wonder, who were the creditors so important that it was necessary to put in the Constitution that they have to be paid first, and then you could attend to the needs of the people. But I do take your point
But
that
because even in terms of the constitutional arrangement, why was not a constitutional court built as a normal recourse for anybody?
for any right.
So,
and
so all of those
yes,
issues
yeah.
are coming in.
And over the years, it never came up.
They never came up.
In fact, to be frank, we do talk about constitutional court here, but it's just a bunch of judges drawn out of the regular roster. There's no special place that is accessible to citizens that deals specifically with those issues. All right, we're at the 9:30 break. This is our last break for the morning. Please stay with us. We're going to be right back to just wrap up these conversations that Percy and I had with our guests and are having now to just draw you closer to where we want you to be. Morning Connection coming right back.
Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935. Best 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
So nice.
We're back. We are back. Welcome back to the Morning Connection. I looked online and I saw a very beautiful painting done by Mr. Anderson. It is of a tennis court as seen through a chain link fence or a mesh, whatever. Beautiful. If you take a look at his work, and every Jamaican should feel proud of the talent that he's displaying. So, Pastor Percival commented that he went to the Royal School of. Anyway, he has received formal training in art. And I made the point that I love the intuitives, the early Jamaican artists who were untutored and displayed their own native skill in the work that they offered. And so came a question from Pastor Percival, which is well worth exploring. What's your question, Percy?
Are you saying that the persons who are trained have not received their gift from God? Remember that?
Right. So obviously I wasn't saying that, but he asked the question, and it points to perhaps an issue as to the extent to which formal training
impacts.
Well, I'm not going to say impact. It would have to be obscure. No, it would have to be obscure. The extent to which formal training would obscure natural talent. Go.
No, I was just, as we have our conversations up here, you say something, I may ask something else to
no, but I want to know what are you thinking? Do you think
to clarify in your own way of thinking, you see, you love the intuitives. And I'm saying, are you saying then that the persons who recognize that they have a...
No, man, I know what you're saying. And clearly I wasn't saying that. I just only said I love intuitives because that's the raw talent. I'm not saying raw talent is better or worse than tutored talent.
Okay.
I wasn't saying that. I just say I love them. But I'm asking you now, do you find some relevance in that question of the extent to which when you put training around something that is natural, it creates something different or something of lesser value? Do you think it is of lesser value, of greater value?
I think even in terms of music, let's think of, you hear this voice and it's just raw. But just raw and powerful, and when you listen to the person sing it, you get goose pimples. Said, did you get any training? They said no. But then over time, you said, with a little bit of training, you could take it to another level in terms of your impact and so on. So that's
all right. So that talent, the raw talent, which is still very notable.
Diamond in the rough.
Right. But there's the rough. Yeah. So you're not really seeing the diamond.
Right.
That's I think is a different situation from someone whose talent is complete in its expression.
Okay.
As it flows from them, like the person who sing beautifully without training, and they sing beautifully. If you train them, they sing beautifully anyway. I guess. But the reason I say it is back to what Mr. Crawford said. Mr. Crawford, he had said it to me before, when I entered into a conversation with him about the value we place on our cultural output. Me, without any training, if I did something, would it be taken up anywhere and treated as something of value? And he said to me that, our art didn't find a home until, I think he said 1975. Because
at the gallery,
he said our art was at the dump. Because if your child drew something at school and teacher send it home, it crush up and throw away. Or after teacher get it, themselves crush it up and throw it away. Until we institutionalize a gallery, we have art school that takes these things into account. And it was just like a very vivid reminder that what we look at as art, as he said, we would go to museums far away to look at what other people are drawing and putting out, and some of the Picassos that look so irregular and you would think is the scribbling of a child sell for millions. I've seen one of my partners, how old was she when she did that? I'm going to call her name Nyla. Did a piece of artwork that won an award. She was like 8 or what, but way sub 10, way below 10. To look at it.
She was?
Yes, when she did it, I think it's something she got to do in school, and she created her own thing, and the teachers were so impressed. They entered it in one of the competition. It won. It had I think it like won a gold medal. It was on display in one of the museums here for a while. But when you look at it, you could not say this was the work of a child.
Okay. That's intuitively there.
It was there you go. But Vivian Crawford was saying to me on that occasion that work now, if she do that, then I just crush it up and throw it away. There was no place to honor the cultural output. Earlier,
okay,
yes. So he's saying it's in 1975 that we got her. So that is why I made the point about the intuitives, that these persons with just the raw expression of their talent, what they carve, what they paint, what they put together when they do their different installations, they've not been to any Royal Academy of anything. This is what the soul is pushing you to give birth to.
And intuitive art,
yes,
art is really anything you can see and draw and so on. So it could be what people would call Aboriginal art, Australia,
what is on the cave wall,
right, or somebody drawing a landscape, because a lot of what you see people put in, like you drive some places, there's a guy who is, I think it's Lady Musgrave, right there.
Yes, right.
And
he has his canvases on the fence,
and then he's drawing. So
and sometimes that's where, right?
And people buy those.
Yes.
And invest. So when you're referring to
intuitive, yeah.
Talking about without any formal training, they love to draw. That's it. And what they put out, you're going, really?
Yeah, there's a market for it, and we need to honor that, put value on it, recognize that it is important and it is a necessary part of what we do, and have a place for it, a space for it in our social arrangements, so that persons who have that desire, that yearning to put something on, make a mark, a scratch, it's not graffiti. You know, in some countries now, graffiti is urban art.
It's art.
So we're not running around with a paintbrush trying to scrub out and so on. I watched my son when he was like maybe 3, 4. He would take his toys and shape them into different things. He made a car out, and you can see it. He make a little car out of his toys, out of, plastic boxes, out of cardboard, anything. He'd be in his playroom shaping things. Some of them I took pictures and I still have them. When you look at it, I could show you something and say, EFT?
EFT.
Yes. I could say to you, what is this, Percy? And you would look at it and say, the boy make a van. You could see what he was thinking, and he was less than 5 years old. He started to do things like that.
Okay.
Now, in another place, the mother said, stop the fooling around, or stop the whatever it is, because that type of artistic endeavor was just regarded as foolishness.
But as you talk about the Institute of Jamaica is about science. How was it written?
Science, culture. Science, arts, culture.
Science, art, culture. But interestingly, a part of our culture is the thing when as little boys we take these orange juice boxes and we craft these
every type of toy,
or even some of us who would take it on a bigger scale. And I don't remember pushcart derby.
Yes,
you remember that?
Yes.
And fall off it when you skate, and your friend push you, and he say,
and you make wooden skateboards
and wooden skate, and you skate off your bottom to you. I remember that.
Were you one of those kind of athletes?
Skate.
Yes.
Skate.
I can't imagine it.
Yeah, but no, I'm talking about skating. You run, and I remember I was the actual skate one Christmas day. I skated. They were sand in the way. Just got this when what time the thing was cowboy and Indians, and I got this cowboy thing with my 2 guns, and my friend was an Indian, and I was running him down, part of our culture, and I skated in the sand, and I skated off.
Good,
all of
because
my
you were
pants.
running down the Indian. You never know, say you were the Indian. Yeah, associate yourself with the cowboy who thief the people land.
Yes, it was good. But it's just
Yeah.
the nature of our culture. We're talking about culture. And some of those same persons that would mock growing up and said, yeah, it's
Waste of time.
and those guys have turned out to be some of our inventors in terms of
Yeah,
what they've
they,
done.
they went on to use that
that.
imagination
Yep.
in a very profitable way, and that is the encouragement that we want to give.
everybody.
Yes, I heard. I'm switching horses on you because I gotta say a little word about the Beverly Manley. The documentary that is so well received. I heard her tell a story that I thought, oh my gosh, we are separated by many decades, but what a common experience. Going to she was going to St. Andrews.
Sinan.
She went to St. Andrew High School, and she was amongst the first colored students there. And her mother, who was an excellent cook and would bake the most delicious and perfect, we call them pink on top. I think they were coconut cakes or
Coconut.
something, right? Made from the coconut with the red on the top. Her mother would make those and give it to them to go sell at school. Our mother never quite understand. Said that is not the place, and it was very difficult. But they had to go, and yes. So while others were probably fully paid up with their tuition, and nobody had to sell candy or sweet treats to be in school, that was an experience she had. And she was saying, as she was telling, she said, boy, remembering it, she tears up. They just had to hold it back straight and find a way to sell their sweet treats. And I remember an experience I had now decades later. My father, who was a farmer,
I remember the
gave us no, it wasn't potatoes. You need to remember the story. Tomatoes.
tomatoes.
No, Pastor, it's not potatoes. It's tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
No, there's no potatoes.
Potatoes.
Listen, man, you could have spoiled Vivian's story if he had let you. But I thought about it and I said, wow, look at that. That summer when my dad said my sister and I had to sell tomatoes in the village. I don't remember. I think it was really a humility exercise, because it was too far from returning to school for him to be really thinking about this is how you're gonna get lunch when you go back to school. But yes, he had an excess of tomatoes, and he said, "You girls need to go sell tomatoes."
I remember.
Yes. So when I listened to her saying, but didn't she know she should have just taken orders? My mom, I could see myself. My mother makes the most delicious coconut cakes, and they are for sale. How many would you like?
Yes, I know.
Package it nicely and deliver.
Yes,
Not hawking, no. But I thought about it and I said, wow, Jamaican parents, them have one parenting rule book, and it no matter how old you are.
Which is what?
The same one where they give their children tasks like that.
And
Humility tasks, self-esteem building exercise.
what did it do for you? On reflection?
Well, I think I don't know that. The thing I remember about it is that I devised a way to do it efficiently, conveniently, and with minimum exposure. So did it build my creativity, or maybe I'm intuitively creative?
That's what you are. And you were an entrepreneur from there.
From start. Yes, so I felt like, okay, I don't mind selling tomatoes. What I mind is walking up and down with it in a basket. And say, Miss Pearl, how much tomato you want today? That I'm not doing. But like there's a Julie Bango video of what is it, taste and buy? Where I didn't know there was a taste and buy thing. But all these things are great to remember at this time of the season, Emancipendence. Well, we're at that time when we say thank you. Let me see what I have here. Earl Brown, if they don't redesign that coat of arms, I tell you, I know you alone will file a constitutional challenge. I think every week Earl puts a note that we must just, whatever we are doing, the Jamaican coat of arms must be designed. Of course it must, because it does have that infamous picture of the angel with his foot on the black man, on the black man's neck. Does it? Or that was on the pin?
It was on the
It's on some pin that the Governor General was wearing.
Right, yeah.
But I think Earl said that
something wrong with
the half-naked Indian need to get some clothes, and he has some other very trenchant points that he makes about it. All right. But thank you all very much for staying with us. Free Flowing Thursdays, still a favorite with us, though I missed the phone calls, and the producer has promised that by next Thursday, we're going to have that in place. Right, producer? Yes. That is when he promises me something, he's covenant. Because he and I are covenant partners, so he can't let me down. Tomorrow, we are going to be celebrating with the SOS Children's Village. We had a treat planned for them earlier in June, I think, and bad weather knocked it out of position. It's been rescheduled for tomorrow. I thank all of those who have made contributions. You have given donations in cash and kind, some of you. And it really is the Morning Connection and Best FM doing a little holiday treat for the children at the SOS Village. We are going to live stream it, and we're going to record it so it can be, a part of our history. We're very pleased to have the opportunity to share with the children. It's really just us doing it. So the next time we do it, I expect all you people who like to offer your support, I expect you to come on board so we can really do something for these children who are not with their birth families at this time, and that is stressful enough. You have given me a number? Oh, my niece has sent me a number on my WhatsApp while I am somewhere else. Okay, so there's a number that you can use to call in and send pledges and offer whatever support you can. The number is 876-564-6668, 668. So it's 876-564-6668. Please, those of you who are abroad, those who are here, you can reach this number on WhatsApp and you can pledge some support. Whatever you give will be greatly appreciated. So exercise your giving muscle and start showing support to the country that you love and to the children who need you so desperately. All right, this is the start of our weekend. So as you know, it is Morning Connection goes on weekend now, and we wish you all the best over the holidays, and stay safe. Whatever you are doing, do it carefully and ensure that you enjoy it.
So take responsibility. That's the message as we come to emancipation and independence. Let's take responsibility. It's our country, as we say. Signing out, walk good, and don't buck your toe.